Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family, we chose this one. This episode 189, Fast and Furious Lap 9. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Jacob's Coffee, jacobscoffee.mx. Jacob's Coffee was born to stimulate and inspire people's dreams. Its magical aroma has special power to feed the soul and make each moment more intense and repeatable. Shout out to Jacob's Coffee.
Well, I would imagine a .mx is a Mexican coffee brand, so shout out to Jacob's Coffee for sponsoring the Mexico-based Fast and Furious. After the break, we'll be talking about Fast and Furious, the fourth movie in the installment, even though we're doing third in the lap. But Joe, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to since we last spoke?
I did something last night that was kind of exciting that I told you about that I want to talk to. Should we save like the kind of mutual thing?
Any order you want. This is your time to shine, baby.
We haven't done an episode in a while since Fast 9, right?
I mean, we did one more recently. Like, we recorded that 2 days after than we normally would have recorded the episode that came out yesterday. So we haven't done an intro in like 2 weeks, but...
Yeah. I wanted to tell you, I haven't told you yet, that I have some tomatoes growing, by the way. Yeah, so I got little tomatoes growing. It's been hot as balls here, so I've been trying to hide in the house.
Yeah, currently 97 degrees outside where I am.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like a warm sauna blanket outside. Like, it's humid and gross. Yesterday, to get out of the heat, we went to the movie theater because it was really, really hot, and we thought that would be much cooler. Spoiler alert, Rachel bitched about it on Twitter. It wasn't super ice cold in the movie theater.
Yeah, mine wasn't either.
Yeah, what the fuck? I guess they're trying to cut back on their losses by not cranking the AC in theaters anymore. But we went to go see Zola, the movie that you and I were both excited about for different reasons.
Sure.
No, just like we just came at it from different angles, right? Both of us were excited about it because our girl Riley Keough's in it. It's a movie based on a Twitter story that happened in 2015. I remember it when it happened. And this girl's like, hey, let me tell you guys a story about how me and this bitch fell out. And that's how it starts. And it's a story about strippers and sex trafficking. It's wild. So we went to go see that movie last night. And I know that you went I only bought tickets because I saw that you bought tickets for it. So you saw it as well last night. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a blast. I thought it was great. Riley Keough has talked about creating a demonic character because her character is basically, like, I saw it described as a modern minstrel, which is, the old-timey, like, white people in blackface, because she is co-opting all sorts of shit, and it's amazing the extent to which she goes. Like, so David Ehrlich, my favorite film critic, said, like, I'm glad that she got the lesson that she didn't go far enough in American Honey, or something to that effect. Like, because she's crazy in American Honey, and this is, like, even further out there. Like, it is just wild. I loved it.
I liked it. I thought it was all a really good movie, but as someone who had read the tweets, knew the story, it felt much like a dramatic reenactment of the tweet story.
Well, what do you think it was going to be? That's what it is.
But it just exists in that same realm, right? The story starts at the starts of the tweets and ends like right before the end of the tweets.
Sure.
Like,
I'm just not sure what you thought it would have been otherwise.
I don't know. That's the whole point. Like, when I left, I was like, it was really good. Like, I love A24. It felt very Florida because it takes place in Florida, and it had that same kind of like Harmony Korine, Spring Breakers, Florida type feel to it with like the neon and like it looking hot and like all of this kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. Like, I thought maybe it would like have delved a little bit deeper into it. I don't know. It was really good. I can't say why I didn't love it, and I'm surprised that I didn't love it, is what I was saying.
What did Rachel think?
She said the same thing. We were like, it was really good, but like as people who knew the story, I told somebody else that was like you, because you had never read the tweet story. You specifically didn't read it going into the movie. I was like, if I didn't know the story, I think the movie would have been super enjoyable, much better than what I experienced, so don't read it first.
Well, I mean, I think this is just a new example or a different kind of example of reading a book before you go see an adaptation.
Exactly.
Like, it's
100%.
Almost always going to fall short. It's just
100%.
a different kind of medium. So,
Yep.
I think it's very fun. I think it's very menacing. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
worth seeing. I think
Yep.
it's very well acted and well directed. I think
course.
it's the first feature from the female director, so I think
think
it's very
so.
cool. It's not, it's not my favorite movie of the year, but it's definitely up there.
It's
I
good,
would
yeah.
definitely like to see it again.
I think people should see it. If you don't know the story, it's fucking wild. I love A24. You're right. The acting and stuff was great, but yeah, that's how I felt about it. So that's what I've been up to the past couple of days. How about you?
We recorded a new episode of Lottery Pod on Monday, me and Bob. The new episode will be out tomorrow as we record this, so by the time you hear this, new episode 3, about a Dave Eggers book, is out now, so go check that out if you'd like to. It probably helps if you read the book, but I don't think you need to read the book if you just want to have a different thing that's not me talking about Fast and Furious. But this weekend I did spend time, I visited my friends in Providence and spent a lot of time on the worst highway in America, Route 95, where it has...
Right by my house. Drives right by my house, yeah.
Yeah, it took an extra hour traffic by your house, basically. Not by your house specifically, but like largely around your house was just terrible. Because
Yeah,
that road's terrible.
Stanford is shitty.
But they had bought a house, my friends Desiree and Ben, they bought a house earlier this year, I think, maybe late last year. I think they moved in early this year, so I saw it for the first time. They are also growing tomatoes and also cucumbers, so some vegetable friends over there,
High
which is
five,
very
gardening
cool.
friends. Kara's a gardening friend too, so.
When I got back on Sunday night, we recorded a podcast with the show Out Now with Aaron and Abe.
Yes, we
Aaron
did.
will be on our show later this lap. But we talked about a movie called F9, which we talked about at length last episode, and we will talk about again in a couple weeks with the Mikester. But yes, we talked about that once again, sort of largely spoiler-free, sort of ish, with Aaron and Abe.
We like tiptoed around a lot of stuff. It was mainly like the stuff that you would learn from the trailers, and then just like thoughts and feels and vibes on the movie.
Yep.
It was a really cool episode. It was an interesting thing to do. Those guys know a ton about movies. They're way more on your wavelength than I will ever be between the three of you. And you tweeted it, but I was very, very proud of you. We played a game on there. As soon as he announced the game, I was like, I'm going to do horrible at this. And I'm like, I hope Joey can help. And although we were playing individually, you put out an excellent showing for us, and I'm so proud of you because I was like, please get, and you were just crushing the game. So you got to go listen to it over there. Round of applause for you, bud. Like you really saved the day. Yeah, seriously, I was really impressed the whole time. I did shit as I assumed, like no points in any of the possible things I could do, but you did great. So cool.
I don't know if there's anything else that I have done. Got some cool stuff more coming up this week. But I think we just, so much of the build-up, we talked a little bit about it on the F9 episode, going to see F9, and that was fun. And then we recorded and everything. So, yeah, all good things. We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. So here's, I want to get your take on something, Joe. So as we unveiled in the F9 episode, people, if they skip that one, we have a couple new patrons, including one that I'm going to announce his name.
Ooh.
So the patron list here is in the order they signed up, but I kind of like ending with Montez, and I don't know if we go out of order.
I like ending with Montez. I think that you should slot them in. She should always be last.
Okay.
Is that cool? I think that's
Save the best for last. No offense to Michael, but just, Montez ride or die, right? So.
Well, it's for the mouthfeel more than anything else. It ends better.
Well, we have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenen, Justin Kleiman, and Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, West Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke Hayden, Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting the $5 level or above. Got a bonus episode coming out soon. Not the next one we'll record. The next one we'll record is... What is our next episode? Is it a pit stop or is it F9? F9 next week.
First,
Boy, jeez. Okay, so F9 and then a bonus episode. So next week-ish, bonus episode. So go over there, toofast2forever.com. Also get stickers and merchandise and stuff. I sent out Michael's stickers to him in the mail. Got a handwritten note from us, as always. And also get access to the Fast Furious Minute documents and the quizzes and everything. So
yeah, all that good stuff, yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff at the Patreon, toofast2forever.com. We also have an email address, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, we've got a whole mess load of emails today.
I'm sure. I'm very sure.
I will say, as a reminder to people who have not yet voted, the voting for the Hall of Fame, the Too Fast, Too Forever, Fast and Furious Hall of Fame is now open. If you go to cageclub.me/bracket, you can find it there. You can also find it on our Twitter page. Also, if you've not done it yet, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you can. I know we have some new listeners from F9 and such. Having a new rating or review, good or bad, I mean, please leave us a good one, but we've not had a good review or new review or rating in a while. So if you have not done it yet, please, if you listen or if you have access to Apple Podcasts, even if you don't listen on there because that app is terrible, go in there, say something nice. Please. We would appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm or whatever. Who knows? Yep. I don't know.
Please.
I'm going to try to keep the F9 stuff separate so that if people are avoiding, because I don't know, I know that Kara listens to this. I know she has not seen the movie yet. I don't know if there's anybody else out there. I'm sure that there are, maybe not people who write in, but I'm going to do regular mailbag, and then I'm going to do F9 mailbag at the end, and then when we talk to Corey in the back half, we'll figure that out too, but just... This first chunk is going to be spoiler-free. I'm trying here, guys.
You can save them for the F9 episode with Mike, too. I mean, it's up to you.
No, because I think that there is also the thing that, people will want to listen to...
Okay.
Timeliness, but also, people, even if they're not listening to the back half, they might still want to listen to the front half or something. I don't know.
Okay, cool. I'm down with it. Whatever you think.
So, okay. So we mentioned last time that Michael McGann joined as a $10 a month or a Canadian $13.50 a month patron.
True.
But he also emailed that as soon as he did that, $10 a month sounds like a whole lot of vaginal activity to me.
That's a quote.
It'd be very funny if people were like, what the fuck?
We subscribe to our OnlyFans at toofast2forever.com.
Only 2F2F.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey fam, hope you're doing well. It's been a while since I last emailed you in November. Even though I've not sent in any emails, I've definitely not stopped listening. I've been trying to catch up in order. I'm now on lap 6 Fate the Furious, but with F9
close.
Coming out soon, I'm going to have to change tactics and start listening to the most recently released episodes as they come out. I don't want to miss your reactions to the long-awaited return of my boy Han. Wait, what? So looks like I'll be living in both the present and the past for a while. Well, much like Han, and time rewriting itself, right?
True, very true.
Over the past few months, this podcast has been a staple in my life. Well, that's so nice. Due to COVID, I've unfortunately had some really rough times. That's not so nice. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, that sucks. We all were there with you, though, brother.
And it's been an absolute blessing at times putting 2F2F on during some really tough drives in the car and having you guys take my mind off things. I've wanted to join the Patreon family for a while. And after a long time procrastinating, I figured I'd finally throw you guys a few bucks as a way to say thanks.
We appreciate it very much so. Thank you.
Thank you. Since I've now joined the family, I figure I'd send my rankings top to bottom. So I'm going to go bottom to top. So number 9, Hobbs and Shaw. He has no explanations for these, but just
up.
Number 9, Hobbs and Shaw.
Low.
Number 8, Too Fast, Too Furious. Actually, I don't know. It's rare that we have an episode with double rankings because we'll probably get Corey's in the back half. This is going to be...
Yeah?
This is big news. So...
Okay.
Number 8, Too Fast, which is pretty low, but also I think it's right about where it is for me, too. Number 7, Fate of the Furious. Number 6, tonight's episode, Fast and Furious. Number 5, Furious 7.
Okay.
Number 4, the original, The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Number 3, Tokyo Drift. Number 2, Fast and Furious 6. And number 1, Fast 5.
Fast 5, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I smelt it.
Remember, even a low-ranked Fast and Furious movie is still a great movie. Amen. Hopefully by the time 1327 event comes around, the U.S. and Canada border will finally be open, and I can come down and join the party. Heck, even if the border's closed, I'll parachute out of a plane and land my car right in front of Torito's Cafe. I'll bring the Gallo 24. Stay furious, my friends. Michael. Well, thank you, Michael.
Thank you. I think we'll be on COVID 43 by then. We'll be on Fast and Furious 17 by then. It'll be great.
We've had a couple wonderful comments on our YouTube recently. We had Kurt Hall says, "Too much blabber. Don't waste your time." The wrong two. And then we also have Vaman Bashit says, "Fucker, add properly movie." So thank you to both of you for listening. We appreciate it.
Sorry, you really got me with this. Thank you.
All right, this next email is from Wells, who also emails in again later, which we'll talk about in the F9 section. But this is gathered notes of the last few episodes.
What's up, Wells? I'm glad you got to see the movie finally on Sunday.
You want 10% fans at a baseball game? Become an A's fan. Very cool. My whole adult life has been spreading equal at A's games with no one around me. I love the packed Coliseum rocking out, but there's nothing like changing seats every inning, watching the game from all different angles. It's very relaxing.
I like that too. We do that a lot, actually. Yeah.
And then this is what I read in the F9 episode. I'm going to treat F9 like a Niners game. I want to tailgate and get high as angel tits before I walk in. And when I'm in, I'm going to yell at that screen.
Amen.
I watched Spiral, which we talked about on the Mark Hoffmeyer episode Too Fast, and it wasn't that good, but it was a decent drive-in movie.
That's cool.
Couldn't rewatch it if I'm not couldn't rewatch it. I'm not in the Saw movies. My favorite part was Chris Rock trying to be Denzel Washington. It was hilarious.
I don't think that was the point of it, but good job, Wells.
I've been really busy this last month. Haven't missed an episode. Been slacking on writing in, though.
It's all good. Yeah, no worries. We understand.
Quick story. This just happened last night, which is now 10 days ago.
Okay.
I'm leaving an apartment building after dropping off an order, and I'm flexing on the elevator door in a double-door elevator waiting for it to open. If you've ever seen the movie Sex Drive, I was imitating the brother when he was hella upset, yoking up on the garage door, talking shit. Hilarious scene. Well, I didn't know it was one of those double-door elevators and the door behind me opened, and I didn't realize that when I finally stopped being weird and turned around, there was a family of 4 waiting for me to exit because you can only have one group in the elevator at a time. I instantly started laughing because they were probably seeing me talking shit to the door for 10 or 15 seconds. Only me, I swear. Here's the clip. Well, there's no clip, so I don't know. I don't know if he's throwing a clip that's not here, or just whatever, but no clip. His younger brother took his GTO or whatever car it was and drove to Tennessee to bang this chick he was talking to online. And this is the older brother finding out his car is gone. Also, no clip there either. So
perfect.
Just imagine those scenes.
I did, and I imagined Wells flexing in the elevator. And yeah, perfect. That was great.
Says, so I'm about to run 1-8 this next week to get ready for 9, which I still haven't watched a trailer for. Very cool. I think it comes out the 25th. I'm going to see it on the 27th in a rented out theater. Then I'll probably hit the drive-in 2 or 3 times. I'm very excited to hear what you guys have to say about it after you watch it. I'll tuned in. Okay, players, we'll talk soon. I hope all is well with you guys. Until next time, peace, easy, Wells. Well, thank you, Wells.
Peace out, Anus Peacer. Thanks for writing in, as always. Thanks for making me laugh, as always, too.
Our next email from Montez, subject line, I'm only 1 episode behind, ... maybe 2.
She's like fully caught up, okay.
Random updates that have nothing to do with Fast and Furious.
Please
First
tell
off,
me.
comments for movies Joey's been watching. Nobody, that Bob Odenkirk movie. I loved it. I watched it twice, she says.
Nice.
Shiva Baby gave me such anxiety.
Okay.
Reanimator. I watched this years and years ago. I thought it was hilariously stupid. Made for Love. Watched it almost immediately when it came out. Loved it. Would suggest it to anyone. That's a TV show on HBO Max that I was enjoying. Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. Watches years ago and so hilarious. I'm glad someone else in the world is actually watching this so I don't have to know how wonderful it is alone. What have I been watching lately? Oh, I started Detroiters, which is hilarious.
Okay.
It's with Sam Richardson, who plays Richard Splett on Veep. Wonderful on Veep. And it's Tim Robinson, who's from I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson on Netflix, which season 2 comes out today as this episode comes out in the main feed, which I'm very excited about. But it's amazing. And I started to rewatch Twin Peaks, but people know about Twin Peaks. Yeah, Simpsons and Seinfeld. Okay. Mitchell's versus the Machines. I love this so much and couldn't stop talking about it or suggesting it to people for at least a week. Yep. Bo Burnham's Inside. I thought it was so well done. I've now watched it twice and listened to the album on iTunes a dozen times because I can't stop singing White Woman's Instagram and losing it. But I also agree I wasn't incredibly crazy about his stuff prior to this special. Did you watch that yet or no?
No. I told you about my patchy feelings on Bo Burnham. I was waiting for Rachel to possibly watch it. She said she listened to the quote-unquote like most popular song from the special, and she said we're good not watching it, and I said that is okay by me. So that's where I stand right now. I can't
put into words how little a popularity of a song on Spotify or whatever will correlate to the experience of watching it.
I don't know. I'm at the point where like it's been sold too much as like art to me. Like people
it's definitely
like
art. It's definitely art.
People like it too much for me to care right now. Like, not that like I feel bad. Like, I'm not like I hate this or like I normally don't like Bo Burnham too much. People were really hype on it, and I'm like, I don't think it's for me.
I'm just saying that if you're out there, and you're on the fence, don't listen to one song on Instagram because it's not like an album or something where it's like, oh, I don't like the sound of this or whatever. It's him struggling with COVID and depression.
I struggled with COVID and depression myself. I don't need to watch someone else do it as an art piece.
It might be cathartic, though. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
On the topic of group activities, says Montez, over the past few weeks, we've been on several group outings, and it feels so weird every time. We went camping with a bunch of friends over Memorial Day weekend, which was also 2 days after my surgery, and I do not recommend it. I bailed and drove home, then went back to my spouse to get the spouse the next morning. We also just had a cookout with my cousin's side of the family this past weekend. It was the first time the little dude got to spend time with my aunt and uncle, which seems insane to think it's been almost 2 years since I got to see people I saw all the time, quote, in the before times.
Yeah.
It still really makes me anxious, but that's probably just the social anxiety and awkwardness I've always had.
I feel you. I have lots of anxiety in big groups now going back from COVID, so hang in there. We'll make it through.
You can tell by the format of this email, I was just building out a website and doing some project management work, and by the timestamp, you can see it's well past a normal person's working hours. Yes, 8:43 p.m. The end is so close in sight, I hope.
Hang in there.
Well, yeah. By now, the work's done, because this was sent 9 days ago. So
yeah, I'm sure.
Heading out on the maiden voyage of our camper, Poppy, this weekend, we'll be passing by the Digger's Dungeon. You guys need anything? Don't worry, I'll send pictures. I don't know what the Digger's Dungeon is. Do you?
I don't know what the Digger's Dungeon is either, no.
I don't remember if she wrote it again. We'll find out. I hope by the time you get to read this message, you guys have been able to see F9 together. True. Stay safe. Much love, Montez. Well, thank you, Montez.
Thank you, Montez.
We have 2 very short emails from Alex Ellenin back-to-back. One called Sung's Garage. FYI, the episode of Sung Kang's podcast this week is part 1 with Justin Lin. Also, the last one with May was with Lucas Black, in case y'all didn't see Alex. And then he follows that up by saying, spoiler, part 2 came out today as well. They're a good listen. I recommend everyone check them out. Also, I spoiled myself and sprung for the IMAX showing of F9. I'm stoked. Well, we already heard his thoughts on F9, but...
And we went to IMAX too, and it was worth it, man. I liked it in IMAX. It's big.
I've not listened to Sung's Garage. I know that Wes listens to it.
Wes loves it. Yeah, he really loves it.
I'm already running out of thoughts on these movies, I think, which is fine, because, I mean, we've done each of them 9, but, like, I don't need to steal other people's thoughts, right? So, like, it's just one of those
tough... I get nervous about this, dude. I like, somebody was like, did you read this review on F9 or something? Or, no, that's what it was. It was, like, the promo for F9 was coming out. Like, when the movie had come out, we had already seen it, and I was like... I can't watch Vin talk about this because, like, I don't want to steal his talking points. And the thing is, we talk about it so much that, like, yes, I try to keep myself pure to have original thoughts, so I'm not just, like, out here, you know, stealing jokes and stuff, so.
People, if you actually said something funny, people would know it wasn't you, so it's fine.
Yeah, but that it would also be, like, lame. Like, this stuff will seep into my brain, and
I think you missed the point of what I was saying. I was saying you're not funny.
I got it. If you would allow.
Next email from Montez. She forwarded a thing that we had sent her because I posted on our Patreon that we were in the Wall Street Journal, which I don't know if we talked about fully. I think we might have mentioned it, but we were interviewed by the Wall Street Journal by Bori Lamb. And she interviewed us about Han and F9, and I posted it on our Patreon. And Montez said, yes, I'm forwarding your own message back to you guys, but guys, I'm so freaking excited. I even texted Joey immediately upon receipt, Montez.
That's so cool. We were super hype on it. I have a paper copy here that Rachel will frame, although my name got cut out of the print edition. I still think it's the coolest thing ever. And it mentions Too Fast specifically. It has your name in it and a quote from you, and I don't think we can get much better than this right now. So
it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you again to the Wall Street Journal for making us officially
the premier
experts. Sure, yeah, the premier. Jerry sends in 2 car pictures, which we will save.
Cool.
Then Jenny Benevento, our other new patron, she joined at the $1 tier. She says, and I'm only mentioning that because it's important, because she commented on a post, starts off, I didn't cancel, woo! So,
thank you, Jenny. I'm glad that you also said that for Joey, because, yes, thank you.
She says, I'm a Cage Club fan, but I'm not too chatty. Well, that's okay. That's totally fine. Yeah. Have y'all listened to the Sung Kang podcast? There's a new part with Justin Lin. Well, I just heard about that somewhere.
We did.
I've been thinking a lot about how the evil in these films continue to be more and more computerized, even to the point of being remote.
Interesting.
Oh, here's... All right, so the rest of Jenny's email and the rest of the mailbag actually is all going to be F9 spoilers, so if you want to keep yourself pure, if you've not seen the movie yet, please check the description, tap the timestamp, and jump ahead to the next part. But from here on out, it is F9 spoilers. You have been warned. Okay. So Jenny continues... In this film, in F9, Roman even points it out about the computerized evil. Human heart versus technology. I don't have a ton of conclusions, just wonder how that will play into the next couple movies. Yes. And that's, I think, we were talking about Robot Han all along, right? It's a possibility.
We don't know. We didn't get confirmed that it's not Robot Han.
If you come back as a robot, you're not usually a good robot, right? Like, it's not like we're like, oh, Han could be a robot, and that'd be a good thing. It's like, no, that'd be a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. What if Han is still a robot? His consciousness was transitioned, and he doesn't know that he's a robot yet. You could still be right.
Maybe. I don't think I am, but I
don't
appreciate
think
it.
so either.
All right. Justin's email is F9 locations. He says Tbilisi was the last location. That's the one I was like, I don't know. It's something like Tbilisi with something.
Yes.
He says it's the capital of Georgia. One of my friends at the screening was real excited because he had been there and recognized a few things.
Oh, cool. That's very cool.
He says the opening location was confusing. It looked like Thailand because it was filmed in Thailand. However, the enemy soldiers were speaking Spanish. The name given to the location on the screen went by fairly quick, and I didn't recognize it. I think it was a fictional location, so as to not offend any of their Latin American fans. I think they said it was Mexico. I'm fairly certain, but I don't know. I also don't remember.
I don't remember at all. I can't.
I know they're in Mexico at one point. I don't know. Maybe they went from Thailand to Mexico. I don't know. Also notice how they never say what country Otto's dad was an ambassador for.
I think it was more so that they didn't want to say, like, the Russian oligarch.
They don't want to offend everybody, so they're like, yeah, it's a Sokovia or whatever.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yes.
Good point, Justin. Thank you for that. All right, now Wells says, my favorite email I've ever written.
He titled that himself? You didn't title this. Okay, good.
With an exclamation point, which I don't think he rarely uses exclamations, so...
Perfect. Okay, go ahead, Wells. I've been waiting, buddy. You didn't even tell us on Twitter, so please.
Dom walks up with a shot he pointed at Tej and Rome at the beginning, just like in the first one, when Brian pulls up after revealing he's a cop. It was awesome. I almost thought they just used the original shot. It was so on point.
I was really excited when I saw that, Wells, that you say that, because I was like, I can't wait till this comes out on VOD so I can check if the shotguns are the same on gun website, whatever, like car IMDb, movie.
Internet movie,
gun
firearm database or whatever,
Yeah, I'm going to check.
Well, that was something that that Wes said to us, too, that the grip, like, Dom re-grips his Corona in a way that's like the Dom grip of the beer. So, like, he's just got these quirks or these behaviors down pat, right? So
Domisms.
They actually showed us the crash that killed Dom's dad and everything after. I did not see that coming. Very cool.
Yeah, same. Agreed. Yeah, we didn't know what the flashback was going to be, but there was a lot of them.
Most absurd scene in the entire franchise is Roman running away from the bad guys in the jungle, like 10 feet in front of a jeep full of dudes shooting at him and missing every shot just for Roman to shoot them all while being surrounded on top and bottom. Yep.
Yes, very much so.
Oh, this is a good way to describe it. He says pre-Dom, so like flashback Dom, pre-Dom, too soon Juned his brother. Epic.
He did. Yeah, he did. We loved it.
Even though, like, in this movie, in Fast and Furious number 4, we're talking about tonight, like, Brian doesn't say too soon. He just goes, too early, Dom, or something. It's just like, you can't even get that right, man. What are you doing?
What a buster.
Tej and Rome making fun of Twinkie had me dying. It was perfect. It's pretty much what we've been asking ourselves since Tokyo Drift released. You go by Twinkie? Why? Crying, laughing emoji.
Yep.
I'm hungry. We got it. I love these comeback arounds. There were so many in the movie. That's why it's in the top 3 IMO. Oh, he does not send his rankings, but that's
I told you, dude. I was feeling it, too. I said top 4, but yeah.
So did Dom meet an innocent man to within inches of his life? Sure, the driver caused the crash, but it wasn't his fault the car exploded.
I think Kenny Linder had it coming to him because he was being kind of a dick. I don't think that guy was innocent. I don't think that he was the reason that Dom's dad died, but he wasn't innocent in this either.
They went to space and didn't have to waste an entire movie being there. They listened to the fans and Too Fast, Too Forever, obviously.
You're another chalk up another vote for them listening to us from Wells coming here.
I will say this, they completely ruined the return of Han by letting us know a year ago. Yep. And then letting us know in the movie before he appears. Yep. I can only imagine the feeling of them revealing Han without us knowing it. Chills. It was still so glorious that it's not a big deal. I'm just saying his story was half-assed as to how he survived. They didn't explain it, just said Mr. Nobody did a good job making it look real. Not a big deal, just would have been cool to get a little bit more. Absolutely.
I
Totally agree. So happy to see badass Mia kicking ass once again. My friend told me that Brian was in the movie played by his brother, so at the end I was super excited to see him, but I get why they didn't show him. Maybe next time?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what we're getting.
Definitely my favorite movie I've watched in the theaters, or at least the best experience I've ever had. There were 6 of us. I got my own row and kicked back on leather seats and ate tacos and candy and smoked weed until it was all gone. It was fantastic. Oh, right, yeah, the whole rented out private theater. Very cool.
Yeah, but you could smoke weed and eat tacos in this theater? What?
Isn't this it's the movie theater where his friend
works or something?
Is a chef or something, right? Isn't it?
I don't know, man. I need more on that. But yeah, tacos and smoking weed in the
theater.
theater.
Tacos, candy, and smoking weed. Yep.
That's probably the coolest theater experience you can have, right? Like, can't get better than that.
Emotional AF. I didn't need tissues, but I got that lump in my throat in a few scenes.
Yeah, Rachel was tearing up a bunch, too.
They were consistent in this film with how they maneuver through scenes. Lots of similarities to other movies, like the brother being a bad guy, then getting screwed over and helping Dom, then instantly being accepted back into the family. I was explaining all this to my peeps because not all of them understood all these subtle nuances. There were several more as well, like Dom getting pulled down on the roof and killing himself just to not die, kind of like in 7 on top of the parking garage. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so wild to me how far we've come from me meeting this group of people 15 years ago and forcing them to let me watch fast movies at their house to making a tradition since 5 to see them at the drive-in and theaters. They love them and enjoy them, and they have me to thank. I'm an amazing person, haha. I pushed something on them so hard that they had no choice but to love it, and now they read message boards and can hold a discussion. Very cool.
That's very cool. I'm glad you made a family.
Anyway, bros, I can't wait to hear what y'all have to say about this masterpiece. It was worth the wait, and I'm seeing it again at the drive-in on Thursday. Okay, see you on the other side. Peace out.
I'm glad you liked it. It seems like that's the kind of the resounding response that we've gotten from all of our fans, that it's just, yeah, it was what we wanted.
Next email from Nick, subject line F9.
What up, Nick?
Very good, very happy. Was talking to Joe, too, in the Facebook Messenger after the movie. Love that they bring in different cars, especially Fords, to Mustangs, to the new Ford GT.
Yeah. Jacob's a big Mustang guy, and Nick was excited about that, yeah.
I just realized just now they had a Mustang in 3, and they also brought the characters. Well, they did have a Mustang in 6. Anyways, love the fan appreciation. They're definitely listening.
Another vote. There we go.
Not necessarily to us, just to the fans, but, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Because, spoiler, they're not listening to this.
They should be.
Did want to mention the torque wrench pipe wrench, but Justin beat me to it. But mechanics do use pipe wrenches. My dad used one and I have one. We do use them on tie rods to adjust them, plus anything around there is no grip.
Yeah, makes sense.
Says Wes beat me to Cardi's sister in Han's truck, which I was thinking at the beginning of this movie. We'll talk about that. I especially love the homage to Brian. Loved it.
Yeah, it was very classful. That was the right way to do it. They needed to ease us into bringing Brian back. So if that's how they did it, like a little peek at the end here, works for me.
Anyways, I do want to go watch it again even more now. I listened to the family, missed a couple moments, but still badass. Well, I'll talk to you again. 4 Horsemen, Nick, out. Well, thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for writing in. I'm glad you liked it too, bud.
So now we got another email from Emily C., who emailed in a couple months ago. She sent in her rankings back then.
Welcome back, Emily.
Says, hi, guys. Subject line F9, finally. Hi, guys. I just got home from seeing F9, and wow, was that a big welcome back to the movies. We'll see how long it takes my eardrums to recover. I'm going to listen to the spoiler-filled review in a little bit, and I'm looking forward to hearing your takes on it. I really enjoyed it. It was fun to see if I could catch all the callbacks to the earlier movies, and I'm sure I missed some since I only watched 1 to 4 once. Was not expecting Stasiak, of all people, to be in this movie.
Yeah,
even for maybe 2 minutes max. Personally, I could have used fewer of the flashback scenes, but that's also because I'm not super interested in Dom. They still worked out and didn't take me out of the movie too much. Oh, right, I remember Emily now, because she came in and she was like, basically like, Heather's right, Dom sucks, and we're like, oh boy. Okay.
But you got flashbacks of Mia and Letty and everybody else too. So I mean, like it incorporated all of them into Dom's quote-unquote backstory.
Glad the women had more to do in the movie. Ramsey's driving scene was probably my favorite part, and the credit scene. I'm very excited to see how the confrontation between Deckard and Han goes in the next few movies, especially if Mr. Nobody had a hand in, quote, Han's death.
Exactly.
I appreciated how they incorporated Brian into the whole thing without actually showing him. When I started the movies after Paul Walker died, I know how important he is to the franchise. The fact that they can still keep him alive in some way really means a lot. Can't wait to hear what everyone thinks. Emily. Well, thank you, Emily.
Thank you for writing in, Emily. Glad that you seem to like it too.
Next email from Alex Ellenin, again, subject line, Team Jacob and Team Kenny Linder.
Ooh.
Okay, fresh out of screening number 2, and I have some thoughts. Buckle the fuck up.
Strapped in, bud. Go ahead.
When the 1989 shot pans to young Jacob as Papa Toretto burns to death, he's clearly wearing some Mechanics gloves. Mechanics, the company, wasn't founded until 1991. Okay, even more reason, 1999. Just done. We had a long discussion today. I had a long discussion with Garrett on Twitter. Past guest, future guest, Garrett Smith, Philadelphia on Twitter, because he's like talking about how he noticed these inconsistencies or whatever, and about how young Tom had. I'm like, just. You want to break your brain? Think about this. And then we went back and forth, and I tapped in Wes at one point, and just like, we got to figure this out, because like, it's literally one number changes, everything is fixed. I mean, everything's fixed within the world of like, this is never going to make any fucking sense because they don't give a shit.
Exactly.
But it's so much closer than 10 years earlier.
Yep, I agree.
Also, when the car hits the fence on the outside of the racetrack, the explosion starts slightly behind the rear axle, which is not where Jacob would have messed with anything. It more likely would have started with the fuel cell getting punctured, which was not anyone's fault.
Ooh, that's a good fact, actually.
Even more reason why I was just like, Jacob's going to get welcome back in, right? Because it's just like, it wasn't him. Second, Dom goes to jail in 89 after beating Kenny Linder, spends 2 years in jail and gets out, which we know from the first movie, 2 years in Lompoc, never going back.
Yep.
He races Jacob, who then spends a year with Buddy and disappears. Since the race was the end of the season, Dom probably had some litigation stuff. He doesn't start since 1990. About Jacob disappearing in 93. Mia says she breaks into a police database, and Letty says she was like 16. So let's be generous and say that happened right after Jacob left. She's no older than 16 at this point. Puts her around 24 in 2001, which is reasonable. There had to be some time for Dom and Mia to acquire the garage and corner store. I appreciate the math. I don't think it adds up.
I don't think it adds up. You're completely overlooking their ages, how they look age-wise. Because he's 20 in this fucking scene. Like, explain, that's the part that, like, is like, come on. And we did
Agreed.
the other math in the thing. You have to look. It's like, okay, was it 2001 or 2004?
Side note, in the scene at Buddy's garage, there's a calendar on the wall with a 69 Pontiac GTO Judge on it. No luck so far identifying it. Maybe Joe will find it when the minute gets there, somewhere in the 2100s. Yeah. Actually, I want to figure out. Hold on. Let's do some quick math. So I'm just going to ballpark. So we have like 100 minutes, 100 minutes for the first movie, 100 minutes for Tokyo Drift, 100 minutes for the fourth movie, like 130 for Fast 5, 135 for 6, like 140 for 7, like 150 for 8, 135 for Hobbs. This is 145 plus, let's just say...
Recaps.
Because we're going to do, like, deleted scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we'll call it this just because this is ballpark. Oh, I just had a terrible idea, too. This is ballpark where we're going to be at, roughly, because we're going to do, like, credits maybe as one scene or whatever with credit scenes. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So if we do 1 minute per week without taking a week off, which is not the case because we do episodes without minutes sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
It'll be 21 years, 10 months before we finish F9.
But this was kind of early in the movie, so just like 21 years.
Sure. Okay. We'll round down. I was wondering, so in terms of the minute, I think the answer has to be yes. Are we going to do Spy Racers?
Oh, God, please no. Please no.
Hey, man.
We'll do that when the series finishes and we have all the movies done, then we'll go to Spy Racers, okay? So in like 37 years, we'll get to Spy Racers. Fair?
Oh, boy. Okay.
I'll agree to that.
Sure. For Tej being the numbers guy, he basically doesn't get anything useful out of numbers the whole movie and spends the whole movie being wrong. He says they need to do about 80 to clear the landmines. They don't clear any of the landmines. Well, I think they do because they don't get actually blown up. Like, I think it's Dom saying, like, they're just not going to get damage from the thing, right?
Yes, exactly.
They basically dodge around them as they blow up. Okay, so maybe, all right, whatever. Then he says there's no way the agency sanctioned Mr. Nobody's safe house in the Caspian Sea, and Jacob says he used to run ops with Mr. Nobody out there all the time. Presumably, this would have been before Jacob went rogue, and based on what we've seen, Mr. Nobody hasn't officially gone rogue, so presumably those were sanctioned ops. Tej wrong again. I tell you that to say this, Roman spends the whole movie basically being right. He's right about the package delivery henchman. He's presumably right about being invincible. Gunfight in the plane crash site, the box truck fight, and the satellite crash.
Yeah, you're right. He's like the voice of reason somehow. Yeah.
Also, Ramsey says there's a 10-minute window between patrols as they pull up to the crash site. Why would any government anywhere not have that spy plane crash site locked down? They just rolled up and went, oh man, no one's here. Let's go get some tacos and come back.
Very true.
One final thought, Mia first shows up at the black site and has the convo with Dom about why she should be there, and she says, my kids and yours are in the safest possible hands, and Lenny says, with Brian. I swear to the car gods, Dom looks surprised to hear that. Where the fuck did he think they were? Bruh. If you didn't immediately think all 3 kids were with Brian, where did you think your kid was?
I don't know. I really don't know.
And then Alex says, those kids don't have a fucking chance. Alex.
Yeah, I think Brian would be a really shitty babysitter. I mean, like, a great babysitter. I bet the kids had fun, but I bet they also are, like, almost dead.
So now we have 3 more. They're comments on YouTube, but they're actually good comments. They're from Vivek Shekhar, who is active with us on Twitter as well. So he comments on the F9 spoiler-filled review.
Okay.
Correct me, guys. I think Dom is 29 or 30 in the first movie, so in 89 he should be 18, right? Well, actually, at the end of the first movie, Brian calls Nextel, and he says, I got a 24-year-old here. So he's younger, way younger.
But he's talking about Vince, and we said you have to assume that they're the same age.
Right. Oh, yes. Unless Dom got held back 6 times by the 3rd grade, right?
Exactly, yes.
Also, I feel Jacob and Mia were 15 and 14 in 89, which makes them 27 and 26 and 1, while Brian's 28. No, Mia's in high school. Mia's studying to go to college.
Yeah, because specifically we know this because of the deleted scene. Well, she's studying, 1, and 2, she says, like, I'm getting ready to go to college, like, my brother wants me to be pre-med or something. She says something along these lines. So, at the most, she's a senior.
I guess she could be adult education, but it does feel like there's no way. She's young. I don't see how she's not high school.
She's 18.
He says, also, people miss the 2 years of Dom in prison, so when the race between Dom and Jacob happens is 91, and Letty says Mia was 16 then. So if we go by that, Dom's like 50 and 9. Letty is Brian's age 48. Mia's 46. Jacob 47. Yeah, but I also... in the ballpark. But again, it's the 10-year thing. Like, now it doesn't matter. Like,
Yes.
now
Now
40
it's fine.
versus 50, it's the same thing, essentially, right? They're just like adults.
Much like real life, after 30, the difference between 30, 40, and 50 are not that severe. But, 18 to 25 to 30 are huge differences. So
Yeah. Han and Sean are interesting. If you see Tokyo Drift chronologically within the timeline, then assume Tokyo Drift happens in 2014, which makes Han 42 and Sean 18 and L 11. That'll make Han 49 and Sean 25, L 18. This should make sense, right? Like, little Brian is 5 or 6 and 9, and Jack is 9 or 10, right? Something making sense?
there is some sense there, but also Sean was 18 while Sung Kang was 42.
Wild.
Wild stuff, yeah.
Then he says, I watched 9. It's my third favorite after 5 and 6. Now I'll try to give some sense to how I interpreted some key events in 9 after my second viewing. I think nobody didn't want Dom to know about Han because Jacob was with nobody as his best agent, and Jacob, for all those years, he wanted to have the golden boy, stronger Toretto status that Dom has. Interesting.
Okay, yeah, that's motivation for Jacob's character. I see it.
And so, yeah, Mr. Nobody's just like, I can't tell Dom because that's going to fuck everything up, right? So
Yeah, that works.
we know from Jacob it was only through him nobody knew about Dom and his crew, so Jacob was pissed with nobody praising Dom and working with him rather than Jacob. So by Furious 7 and 8, Jacob gets increasingly angered and at one point wants to prove to everyone that he was better than Dom, so he joins up with another messed up daddy issues guy, Otto, who wants to show his dictator dad that Otto was better than what his dad thought. So Otto and Jacob get to know each other and join hands, and this is when nobody deals with Project Ares. So now Jacob knows this is the ultimate power, and with Otto's motives too aligned, and knowing for a fact that Dom and his crew would show up to stop them, he turns rogue. Nobody was clever with Han, so when he died, Jacob thought he had really died. This adds up in the realization shot with them at the clubhouse bunker in the Caspian Sea. Now he plans with Otto to take the Ares dome from nobody, and that's where the movie starts. Now, coming back to why nobody didn't say Han was alive, it's because he wanted to protect the key to Ares, and if Dom knew Han was alive, he'd come to see them, and Jacob and Otto might get to the key. Voila, right?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that, yeah.
Also, Han is clever and wants the family to know he's alive, even when they would hear he died, as he and nobody had planned to fake his death with Deckard's arrival and to deceive rogue Jacob. And that's why he sends a postcard to the Toretto house in 7, with Mexican image from Tokyo, as he always says, Tokyo's my Mexico, that the crew would understand, which coincidentally matches with a package sent by Deckard from Tokyo with the bomb. This can be used to make sense why Dom was caught off guard with the bomb. Why didn't Han reveal he was alive when Dom came to Tokyo to collect his body? It's because Han had L, and she was 11. It'd be difficult to deal with his danger of having an 11-year-old on heist missions and be on the run constantly. So Han decided to lay low. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, but Brian and Mia and Dom have been now doing this for years. So it makes sense, kind of, yes.
I personally feel Han was having a holographic setup in his Mazda in Tokyo Drift, and when the chase happens with DK, Sean, and Han, he prepares for Shaw to intervene, and so on the run, exits the car halfway with the car autopiloting on itself with Han's projection. So the crash plays out as seen in Tokyo Drift in 7, and Han and nobody watch from a distance in 9, where nobody ends the transmission of the projection after Deckard walks away with his glasses. Now it feels complete, right?
Yeah.
Then he says, Deckard underestimated Han, and he's just a part of Dom's crew who's vulnerable from being alone from the crew and also having lost the love of his life. So he doesn't think it's worthy. He doesn't think he's worthy to check if he's dead, and Dom checks the postcard only now because he went to Tokyo and confirmed Han was dead, or else Han would have shown up to meet me, he says. Might have been Dom's thought. And also he fought Deckard throughout 7. He was convinced that Deckard succeeded in killing Han, but why check it now is because in nobody's transmission of SOS, nobody mentions Han is alive, but it is distorted. Dom gets this, but again thinks nobody could have said something else, but once after the first act, they get the remaining footage, they confirm that Han was the name of the SOS. Dom now thinks maybe Han's connected and might have been alive this whole time. So when Mia and Letty say they'll go to Tokyo to find out about this, he gives Letty the postcard, hoping it'll make them reaching to something related to Han.
Okay.
But even then, he's not 100% sure Han's alive. So when Han shows up at the bunker, all the crew members' reaction is very true, like Tej hugging him, Roman shocked to see his friend back, and Dom to have his old buddy partnered a friend whom he couldn't avenge properly. That guilt was hurting Dom, especially after the fact that he chose his son over Han and asked Deckard for help in 8, back alive, so he immediately hugs him, He even feels bad for not grasping the postcard hint earlier enough when Han mentions, "You got the postcard, I see." He's slightly ashamed that his detective skills from 4 are a bit down on the issue. Maybe Dom's old now, but genuinely happy that Han is back. So now he can find this piece for having Deckard at the family barbecue. Also notice when Dom's face changes when Queenie asks if Dom was there for her son, so Dom is thankful to Deckard for saving his son, and maybe even neutral to some extent since Deckard repents for killing Han and feeling bad for the mistake in Hobbs and Shaw. But after knowing Han's alive and well, and knowing Deckard was fooled by Han, Deckard is now welcome to future family barbecues.
Okay.
He says, I paused the podcast at 45 minutes. So that was all based on 45 minutes, okay? And have to do other university work, so I'll catch you guys later today in case you read this comment before I turn back. I have a lot of thoughts to still listen to, and I won't be fed up typing about Fast and Furious forever. So have a great day, and give me your thoughts on mine, Vivek.
It made sense. There was a lot of stuff in there that did make sense. I have to rewatch to, think about it through this while I'm watching. You added some stuff behind the scenes and motive stuff that would make it make sense the way it was. I think that we were kind of watching it and picking it apart based on what was there. But you can always add logic to be like, maybe this is why. And one day we'll find out which one is true, or we won't find out at all. So
it really could go either way with this franchise. So I think that there's two big things that Vivek was talking about. Number one is the dates, which I still don't think make sense.
I don't think makes sense.
I appreciate everyone who tries to do the math. I don't think it adds up. And I think we have to live with that. It sucks, and that's just what it is, right?
Change it to fucking 99. Yes, but yeah.
Number two, the thing about Han and Deckard and Dom, I think it retroactively makes sense, but I still don't think it excuses Dom's actions earlier.
Yes.
All of this is based on maybe Dom understanding the transmission, Mr. Nobody saying Han is alive or whatever, but that doesn't mean that, he didn't collect a body actually in Tokyo, or that he still chose, which Vivek mentions he was feeling guilty about for choosing Statham to help the baby, right? But that's kind of the Fast and Furious way of that old stuff makes sense because the new stuff, it's that doesn't really actually work,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I do, though, appreciate, I think, both Vivek and a couple, maybe one or two other people, of the alternatives to your theory, because I do think that our leading theory in the clubhouse is Mr. Nobody's the big bad, but now there's some, I think, credible theories on why he's not necessarily bad.
Yeah. Obviously, that can go either way, too, but I feel like this is brewing. I have a gut feeling about it, so...
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Thank you all for emailing, and if you want to email on family@cageclub.me, we will read it on the next episode. Welcome back to anybody who's skipped. It's now time to do on-the-street news about the Fast and Furious. I got 4 different things. Do you have anything in mind that you have seen? Because these are all things that you or I have posted on Twitter and Facebook.
My sister was driving to Virginia, and a bunch of people have seen it, and Virginia put up the, "Are you driving too fast? That's ludicrous."
Right.
Like the Fast and the Furious sign. I'm glad that everybody sent it to us. I'm glad that we saw it. And I also was super impressed that my sister saw this while driving and took an actual picture with her phone in the car she was in and sent it to me. And I was like, holy shit, it's real.
Shout out to Maria, a patron who obviously listens to every episode without a doubt.
At all. Yeah, exactly.
I think I have this written down. I don't cross it off. I think it's still on the list. Brian Supra sold for $550,000. Did we talk about that yet or no?
I talked about it with people, but I don't think on the episode. Yes, it sold at fucking Barrett Jackson, right? Which I thought was kind of low for the price. This is what I talked to everybody when they mentioned it to me. $550,000 for Brian Supra is kind of crazy, considering a bunch of Supras from this era, because of the movie, that are turbocharged, even with medium miles, sell for $100,000. So $500,000 to have the one that inspired it versus $100,000
right
for a different one. It seems kind of crazy. I thought this was gonna break $1 million. It didn't. I'm impressed that it sold for so little, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to say that our patrons failed for not giving us $550,000 and one that we could have beat the auction with. So
yeah,
shame.
We could all had it. We promised you we'd let you drive it.
TooFast2Forever.com. Give us that money, and we will buy a car that you can be in.
Yeah, exactly. You can come and take a trip out, and you can come drive it. 3
other things. Number one, Walt on Numlock News posted a thing about not only is the movie itself diverse in casting, but also the ticketing, that the actual people who saw the movie is wildly, wildly diverse, which I think, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but again, just proves that not only is there reflection in multicultural and everything on screen, but also in person too. They are reacting to, and there's a reason why they do the things they do, is to get people from all around the world seeing this movie.
Yes, I think that's really cool. And like we said, and like we always say, Fast and the Furious, although it's pitched like, car superheroes, there's something for everyone, and I think the ticket sales and the diversity in them show that.
Something that you have said before, Tyrese wants a Transformers crossover.
Yes. It's low-hanging fruit, right? Jurassic Park and Transformers, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a Transformers crossover joke in the next movie.
Well, so that's the thing we talked about, that there are jokes to things in the movie that mean that they exist as fiction in this universe. Transformers is a different studio. We talked about what did Bumblebee or whatever, right? So it's Paramount, it's not Universal, so it would require more work. It's not to say it can't, but not necessarily easy.
Makes sense, yeah.
And the last thing is that Vin wants a Fast and Furious musical, which I am all the fuck about.
As someone who hates musicals, I am also all the fuck about this. I would love to see a Fast and the Furious musical. I hope they do it on ice, and that there's an ice dancing component to it, and that's how it plays. That would be great.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you.
That's all the news that's fit to print, I think. If you have news, email in family@cageclub.me. I think we gotta check in maybe monthly. Not today, though, because it's too hot. It's too hot to Google The Rock president. We haven't done it in a while. I know that Alex didn't like us doing it every week, but I'm going to do it every once in a while because, we're getting into primary season, sort of.
We are, yeah.
All right, the final thing to do before we take a break and talk about Fast and Furious number 4 is talk about the Fast and Furious, the Too Fast, Too Furious minute 16, a minute I called We Got Him.
He's on Skyline, got him. Let me see your hands. Put them up. Yeah, this is it. We got it.
So in this minute, Brian continues to race away from the police following the street race. A police officer identifies Brian's car, then crashes into a parked car. Agent Markham shoots an EMP into Brian's car, killing the electrics and engine. Brian crashes into a parking meter as more than a dozen men surround his car, guns drawn. So once again, like in the first movie when they arrest Johnny Tran and crew, way overkill. I guess they're just around, but they have 14 men surrounding Brian's car, which is just nuts.
It's too many, but I mean, we learned that the police have a lot of funding in the past couple years, so maybe they just had extra money to just, have 14 guys surround Brian's car.
I guess so. I have no idea, but that seems as likely an excuse as any or as reason as any. The only thing I mentioned, because I know that you have a ton to cover this minute, is that I looked up James Remar, who is Agent Markham, who has no first name, credited as Agent Markham on IMDb, or U.S. Customs Agent Markham on Wiki. He is also known as Dexter's dad, his Dexter's ghost dad on the TV show Dexter. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff, right? But I wanted to know, because he's kind of, a respected actor before the days of Helen Mirren or Rita Moreno or someone wanting to join or actually joining. I feel like James Remar is kind of like a cut above in terms of a sort of an older, more distinguished actor, whatever. Not to say anything else of other people, but a lot of these movies are introducing younger people, and this is a more established person, whatever. So I wanted to find if there was anything that he was talking about, why he did this or whatever, and I found this video on YouTube, the Too Fast, Too Furious premiere, where Scott Hoover from some publication interviews a whole bunch of people. Paul Walker's in there, and Eva Mendes is in there, and John Singleton's in there. He's just talking to everyone on the red carpet.
Okay.
But red carpet interviews are insane. You have 15 seconds or whatever with the person, and just gibberish nonsense, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So James Remar has two quotes in this. And basically the first question is something along the lines of what do you think of the movie? And he goes, this is a quote, cars, beautiful women, the good-looking men, good storyline, a lot of movement, good American film.
So he seems pretty checked out.
I put this on Twitter, and then Aaron of Out Now with Aaron and Abe, the podcast we just did,
yes,
quoted that exact thing, good American film. This is almost the takeaway quote from this thing, because it's just what does that mean? He had no idea I was posting it for James Remar.
Okay.
Good American film. So I just thought it was funny that he called out the thing that I noticed. And then
yes,
toward the end of this, they're also talking to people about driving, and Eva Mendes was disappointed that she did not get to drive. Paul Walker was talking about how he drives in real life, like on track. He does a lot of like track racing and stuff.
Yeah.
James Remar says, if it's minor fast driving, I'll do it, but like setting something over a ramp, that's not for me. It's like, wow, things have changed between now and then. Like everybody now, like Helen Mirren's like, let me drive, right? Like,
yeah,
put me in the movie Red because I want to shoot a rocket launcher, right? So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so that's all that I have. So you have a bunch of things, including a couple phone numbers. So hit me with whatever.
I killed this minute. This is like one of the first minutes in a long time that I've been very proud of. I found a lot of stuff this minute. One, I found the Panasonic 7-inch wide colored LCD TV DVD video receiver that Brian has in his car, because I got the model number from that, and a bunch of stuff that's on the screen, so you have it there. I was trying to find stuff on the map. The only thing I didn't do good this time was a lot of downtown Miami has changed. Obviously, it's a big city, turnover. So a lot of the places are a little bit different. So I didn't do good on the map stuff, but I found the Century Store These, by the way, you have to be very proud. These are like minuscule shots in this movie. They're in focus for like milliseconds. And I got like all of these buildings and things that are happening. So the Century Store equipment has a whole bunch of shit, including a weird graffiti elephant on the side of it.
Sure, okay.
Why? I have no idea, but it's there. Brian, like, dodges the one cop, and he, like, drives around the corner and hits the parked car.
Yep.
And Brian kind of, like, laughs at him. They're by the Gold Rush Gentlemen's Club, which still exists and is downtown.
Very cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Because there's a big Gold Rush sign behind them and Gold Rush on the side of the thing. I couldn't figure out what part of the street that was. It looks like the building might have changed or something. But Gold Rush Gentlemen's Club still exists. At the end, they stop them in front of Captain Harry's, which is still a fishing supply company in Miami, although it's no longer in that building. Apparently that building has changed. According to somewhere, the street looks the same. So I have a picture of like where it is on the map, but everything looks a little bit different. I think that's the same place. Also have the phone number for Captain Harry's. But one of the coolest things I found was when Brian's car is fully stopped, he's parked in front of this like mural with like marlins on the side of it. Like he hits the parking meter, the car's stopped, and there's a shot of like the car in front of this like mural with marlins. And I read the name signed on that mural, and it's Kerry Chen. And apparently this guy Kerry Chen just paints like giant murals of marlins all the time. So there's a link to all these murals of marlins if you want to see those too, which I think are it's actually like Aquatic Life.
All right, pick one. Which one of these places should I call first? If we have a good conversation with one, I'm not going to call the other.
I'm more curious. Captain Harry's is like a thing. I'm more curious to see if Century Store Equipment's still open.
I'm going to ask about the elephant too, if they're still open.
That was a bad sign. That like double ring is like...
It happened last time too, and we got the phone answered, so...
Yeah. Hello?
It sounded like someone picked up, but they did not say anything.
That was weird.
I'm going to call back one more time. If it was a normal place I was calling, I would call back, but I don't want to call back and be like, hey, I'm just recording. Do you know your phone number's in a movie?
Yeah. Okay. That was weird.
I'll call Captain Harry's, and if they don't answer, I'll call Century Store one more time.
Okay.
Thank you for calling Captain Harry's Fishing Supply. Our office is currently closed.
Damn it.
Our business...
Well, it still exists, and the number was right. That's good.
It still exists, yeah. All right, I'll call the first place back one more time.
That person sounded like they like picked up and then like hung up. Maybe you have to say hello. Is this Century Store Equipment? Do you have an elephant on your front door?
Well,
Hi, is this Century Store Equipment?
they have not been around for 20 years or so.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
So, we sell restaurant equipment. It's just not them.
Oh, interesting.
For anything particular?
Oh, actually, no, never mind. I'm sorry. I have the wrong business. I'm so sorry. Have a good day. We called them before.
Is it the same number?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was the same number.
I had looked, and I guess I must have typed in the number wrong, or maybe I looked in the 4661 number or something. But yeah, because I remembered seeing a number that you're like, oh no, we got it in a previous one or whatever.
Okay. Well, maybe they just passed by this. I didn't recognize it, and I didn't recognize the fucking graffiti elephant either. So.
Well, I think it was in a different location or something. But when she's like, we sell kitchen equipment, I was like, oh, we did this.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry.
Shout out to Century Store Equipment or whatever they're called now because they are.
They thought they were like K's restaurant equipment last time.
A1 equipment A1 equipment.
A1 equipment. Okay.
Trivia question. When Agent Markham hits Brian's car with an electric charge, what object does Brian crash into? Mailbox, parked car, parking meter, or shopping cart?
Telephone pole. Telephone pole is one that I would add. Yeah.
And the answer, parking meter.
Yeah.
Because they all seem like things that
telephone pole seems like it. Yes, I agree.
Cool. Well, let us take a break and let us come back and talk about Fast and Furious.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode 189, Fast and Furious. This episode's brought to you by Jacob's Coffee. Like when the sun breaks through the clouds, dreams become clearer and more accessible when the scent of Jacob's inspires them. Shout out to Jacob's Coffee.
Well, shout out to Jacob's Coffee and welcome back to the show. With us now, we have the host of the SEMO Afternoon Show on KMDX-FM in San Angelo, Texas, Corey SEMO Driscoll. Hello, SEMO, or Corey,
hey,
or
guys.
I don't know what to call you. Like I asked
Mr.
how you want to be
SEMO?
introduced, but I don't know. Is it?
It's so weird because when I was younger, I live in a fairly small town in West Texas, and so people have nicknames and they travel. So my name was, I went by SEMO, and now I'm a man of 35 years old, and I've it seems weird. I have like a kid. It's weird to introduce myself as that. So when I've started other jobs, in the past, I will try to, hey, I'm Corey, and no matter what, within a week, someone's like, but aren't you SEMO? And then it just goes right away. But I do prefer, especially in this setting, just to be Corey. That's kind of what I'm trying to lean into these days.
Cool. Well, we will call you Corey. That's easy enough for me. I don't want to say that you're not SEMO. I just don't know you yet. Like, by the end of the episode, I'll have a sense internally if you're Corey or SEMO. We'll see how I sign off. I don't know.
Even at my job, it's kind of weird. Like, I have certain people that have known me forever that call me Corey, and I have certain people that just know me through the radio that call me SEMO. So I have to answer to a lot of things.
I
Same.
get it.
Always.
Yeah. So, I'm a 33-year-old man named Joey, right? So, it's the same thing. It's just like, well, Also, with the email address that I made when I was 17, I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to keep this now. So I'm just soul popped everywhere, right? So just names.
You're dug in.
Anyway, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you,
guys. I'm so excited. I am such a fan of what you guys do, and I'm a little bit nervous because even though I kind of do broadcasting for a living, I listened to the Too Fast, Too Furious episode, and that guy Mark is just a powerhouse.
I know, and you're the first guest we've had since then, so yeah, no pressure. But
oh my gosh, man!
Yeah, Mark's at a new bar.
He spoke with such passion, and he just knows so much. And I was very impressed with him. And I'll do my best, man.
Well, that's all that we can ask.
Yeah.
So before we get into all of the either or questions, let's get some credentials established. When did you first see this movie? What was the first movie that you saw? And then build in any way you want to your rankings because we want those sweet rankings.
When it comes to me, I don't have this resume that would quote-unquote qualify me to be this expert on this film series. What I am is a young man who was raised by my mother, whose father would come into town occasionally on weekends and summers and whatnot and try to find stuff to do with this kid. A lot of times that meant going to a movies before an IMDb when you just had to kind of guess if the movie was going to be something worth watching. And one day he took me to a movie that we had no idea anything about and didn't recognize any names, and that movie was called Pitch Black.
Ooh, okay.
My dad was a bodybuilder when I was growing up, and he was really big into Arnold. The first rated R movies I ever saw were Predator and then Tombstone, but that's just kind of a thing that comes with living down south. You got to watch Tombstone at a young age. But Predator and Terminator 2, those were my two things. He was big into that, and I kind of adopted Vin Diesel as my Arnold, my generation's Arnold. And I've just kind of been riding with the man ever since. The first movie that I saw was Fast and Furious, the original one. I guess The Fast and the Furious. Mm-hmm. Is that right? I always get so confused on The Fast and the Furious. So I saw part 1 in theaters. Loved the film. I think that I saw Too Fast in theaters as well, and then I definitely fell off for a long spell. I was going through like that teenage era where like I just wanted to watch like really smart movies. I was watching a lot of foreign stuff and just kind of fell off of a lot of major motion pictures in America. And then my wife and I got married a few years back. I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't want to be wrong, and she might listen to this later. But we got married, guys, and we went on a honeymoon in Jamaica, which was great, and we had a lot of fun. And then one day it rained profusely the entire day, and we were stuck inside watching Jamaican television, which I don't know if you know is in English, but the commercials are in Spanish. So that's always fun. And it happened to be a fast marathon, I believe, leading up to 7, which might have been the television debut of 7 or possibly 6. And my wife was really into the films, but she kind of got into them around Fast 5 era. Our love for the films kind of converged. I like more of the first ones, and she likes more of the ensemble cast, really big budget latter films. And yeah, man, it just kind of blossomed from there. And then I guess last year during the pandemic, whenever I was stuck at home, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and so we started buying digitally every Vin Diesel movie that we could get our hands on, and I just started running through them. So my son, if something were to happen to me during the recording of this podcast, would be the proud inheritant of one hell of a digital Diesel collection.
I mean,
That's
truly,
awesome.
It's the gift that keeps on giving and the finest thing that a father can pass down to his son. So I think you've done a great thing. I hope you don't die. Well, okay. I hope you don't die for multiple reasons. But if you died on air, it would probably be okay ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So, I mean...
It would definitely get me out of Mark's shadow, that's for sure.
I'm going to tell Mark that our subsequent guest kind of wished for the sweet release of death, just insofar as to not be outshadowed by his love of sharks.
Right. Well, I like sharks too, so it was cool listening because I'm definitely going to go check out his pods because
His
I'm all
podcast
about.
sounds insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about some shark films as well. So
Wonderful.
But yeah, aside from that, like credential-wise, I guess I had done radio for like the last decade or so here in my little town. I did a morning show for a while that was simulcast here on a country station, and then I've also done my afternoon show, night show, and all that stuff. I'm a program director of the radio station. I'm the operations manager. For those that know radio people, you never have one job. You have them all. So every time that someone leaves, I just inherit their job and a small portion of their salary and just continue trucking along. And I tend to occasionally get to guest on some podcasts, and I have a lot of fun doing it. It's a great creative outlet for me, but this is like the creme de la creme. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would find a podcast that's more suited to my interest than this one right here.
Well, that is
Awesome. We're happy to
wonderful
have
to
you.
hear. Happy to
Yeah.
have you in our family. So now the time has come. You can skip. I know you've seen 9, so you can
Right.
skip 9 if you're not sure where it fits. But
I know where it
give us
fits,
those
Joey.
rankings. Okay.
I know
okay.
where
It
it
fits
fits.
already. Damn.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's going to be a bit controversial. But
Okay. So either go bottom up or top down. Where are we going? Where are we starting?
we're
Where
going
are
to
we
start
ending?
at the bottom, and we're going to
Okay.
go. We're going to start at 13, guys, and go
Whoa,
back to number 1.
I love this. Love it.
Okay.
And I want to remind everybody that I am a Vin Diesel fan who is also a big fan of his largest franchise, right?
Sure.
So that kind of, helps frame these. So we'll start out with number 13, Better Luck Tomorrow. Don't even know if I've seen the whole thing. Had people send me different stuff, especially as my fandom became more known on social media. I guess for anybody listening who may not know, that's a Justin Lin film that features Han in it, but has nothing else to do with Fast and Furious. So we'll throw that in for fun. And then number 12, Turbocharged, because once again, I'm a Vin Diesel guy, so that's a very Brian. It's basically like an entire explanation of why you're not going to get Vin Diesel in the next movie.
True. Very true.
It could have just been a trailer for Chronicles of Riddick, right? It could have been just like, hey, that movie, watch that. That's what he did instead.
Right, exactly, which is so disappointing. If they could have just skipped straight to Riddick, it would have been such a better thing, because I think that's a fantastic movie. Number 11, I have Hobbs and Shaw, which I have to admit, I stood in solidarity with Tyrese and did not go see this in theaters and did not plan on watching it for a long time. Then this whole COVID thing happened, and I started running out of things to watch after a while, so That Vin Diesel catalog is not as big as one might think, so... So I watched Hobbs & Shaw, and I actually really, really love it, but just as a man of principle, no Vin Diesel. It's barely a Fast and Furious movie in my eyes.
I get it.
So then we're into the Fast. I start at number 10 with Fast and Furious 6.
Whoa.
I know. Controversial.
That's our tie for our... Actually, that's low. That's low.
Let me say that another thing about these movies that I really enjoy, and this is going to sound a little bit more pejorative than I mean, so please let me explain, but like these movies kind of numb my mind sometimes. Like it doesn't take a lot of thought to like get through these films. You know, when y'all were talking with Mark, y'all talked a little bit about how much, you know, it's the things in between. Like, you know, they always say the best horror movies, it's not the jump scares and the killing, it's the moments in between that make them. That's what I look for. So in a movie like 6, which I feel, you know, it was a lot of big action, a lot of big budget, it's a little more forgettable to me than some of the other ones, you know. I'm a Vin guy, so that moves me to number 9, which is Fast 5. I know that's a little. I know.
That is now officially, firmly the lowest we've ever had Fast 5 ranked.
Yeah, and you know, my wife would probably put it at number 1.
Well, she's
it would
right.
probably be
But go ahead.
it would probably be 1 and 2 for Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. But that's kind of what's interesting is we have these different perspectives on the film and what they, not what they should be, but what our favorite versions of them are. So then that takes me to number 8, Too Fast, Too Furious. I would have put those behind 5 and 6, but just for the cheesy dialogue alone, I mean, come on. My pockets ate empty, cuz, ejecto cedo. Those moments right there are precious, so I had to put that there. Number 7, I put Fate of the Furious, F8. You would think that being such a Dom-centric movie, that might be a little bit higher for me. It really feels, and I don't mean to say this, I still love it, you know, but it kind of feels like a stepping stone for me between 7 and 9, or really just a way to make all of us people who were mad about Hobbs and Shaw shut up so they could get that one out. Like, it just seemed like a little bit filler, you know. Then let's see, where are we at? Number 6. So number 6, I have Furious 7. I know that a lot of people don't agree with that as well. At number 5, this one's going to blow you back a bit. Los Bandoleros.
No, man, I love it.
We love Los Bandoleros. Big fans.
I'm a Vin guy, you know? You want to give me a show directed by Vin Diesel? I mean, I'm right in there for that. Number 4 is Tokyo Drift. Usually, you would think that I'm a Vin Diesel guy, so Tokyo Drift might kind of fall. I don't know why. I really don't have a reason. I like Tokyo Drift aside from this franchise. It doesn't have to be a part of this franchise, and I still think it's a great movie. Kind of probably the way you guys were feeling about Need for Speed. You know, it just kind of stands alone on its own. But then at the end, they give me this really great Vin Diesel cameo that kind of lets you know that old Uncle Vinny's still there watching your back, you know?
You know, I think it'd be very funny. Again, I don't want to, prophecy your death, but I can just see your son like, I need to remember my dad, Daddy Simo, and I need to see all these movies that he left me. And he's watching Tokyo Drift. He's like, what the fuck is this? Where is Vin Diesel? And then at the very end, he just points up to the heavens like, you got me, Dad. You got me with this one.
A lot of times with these movies, we've seen them so many times, or so any really franchise, or even just film that you've seen your whole life, that you kind of forget about those moments the first time that you watched them, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And how, you know, when I think about it, I kind of think that I did see it in theaters because I feel like that was a moment I experienced in theaters, but I was, you know, a bit younger. So, and then he's probably going to be like, these rankings are horrible, you know? What is he doing?
I also do want, as a side note, thank you for bringing up Need for Speed, because I've not thought about Imogen Poots in about 48 hours, so I'm glad that I have Imogen Poots back on the brain.
Another reason that I like Tokyo Drift so much, and this is just kind of a personal thing, you know, I don't get to interview a lot of really great people. I mean, I get to interview some musicians that come to town, authors or whatnot, but I did get to interview Leonardo Nam, who plays Morimoto in Tokyo Drift, because he was doing a press run for one of my favorite shows ever, Westworld, and probably the first show that got me to watch or listen to a podcast about a show. It was the first time that I wanted to kind of dive in a little bit deeper. I'm a big music guy, so I was watching listening to a lot of music podcasts. I say watch because a lot of them are on YouTube, but I was listening and watching to a lot of music related podcasts, hip hop related stuff to keep me up on news. And then I found this Westworld podcast. I went really deep on that show, and it was for season 3, which was a bit of a disappointment to me, but it was still nice to get to talk to Leonardo Nam, who was a lovely individual. This was right at the beginning of the pandemic. I got him, we did the whole spiel, talked about Westworld and whatnot, and then once I got a little bit of time, I started asking him about Fast and Furious, and he was telling me how much he loved the film. It's one of his favorites. He wishes that he could do it just so he wishes that he could come back so he had an excuse to dye his hair blonde, because he was afraid his husband would look at him crazy if he walked in with blonde hair. And then he said the body was never shown, Morimoto's body. So Leonardo Nam himself left it open for a return. And I think that, of course, after seeing Fast 9 and pretty much every other film in the franchise after this one that we're going to talk about today, you know that if you don't see the body, and sometimes even when you do, they can still come right back.
You know, it's very funny. We keep hearing that, you know, people want to come back. And then we just heard recently that, like, the guy who played Leon is like, fuck that, I'm never doing another one. We're like, hey, man, okay, like, that's fine. But, like, it just seems like there's, like, 99% of the people who have been killed or forgotten or not returned are like, I would love to come back. Like, give me those sweet, sweet residuals. And then Leon's like, nope.
You know that meme that, like, it's like the girl laying in bed, like, I wonder what he's thinking about?
Yes.
The guy?
Yep.
Constantly, way too much to even be admitting, I am wondering what happened to Leon. I find myself so many times wondering why we couldn't have lost Leon to save Jesse, who I loved as a character, and I oftentimes find myself thinking, so, you know, I'm not against Ludacris or his character, but even in this last film, I spent way too much time in the theater thinking, boy, it would be interesting if that was Jesse in space, you know? Like, I really like the character, and I feel like it's a dynamic that they never really quite, it's a role that they never quite filled all the way, you know? His almost kind of like innocence, but not. He was a badass. That dude was an outlaw, man, and he lived the way that he lived, and he died the way that he died. But I oftentimes wonder why we couldn't have just got rid of Leon, who obviously was just a throwaway character, I guess, you know? So that takes me to number 3. Here's where the controversy comes in, guys. Well, I guess it's already been a little controversial, but for me, number 3, F9.
All right.
Including emails that we did before you got on, you're probably the 3rd or 4th person to put it in the top 3.
This is a movie that takes you deeper into the character of Dom Toretto, which sounds a little bit worse than I meant to, but, you know, it is what it is. As a Dom Toretto fan, as a Vin Diesel fan, I was elated. I heard you guys kind of talking about the trailers and how the second one let y'all down, and for those people who might not be or maybe listening and not know, movie trailers are made completely separate for the most part from the regular people, so sometimes you do get spoilers and you get moments. You ever go to see like a movie that you're like, oh, this looks great, and it's nothing like the trailer, you know? That's what you get. So I try to stay away from trailers of movies I really, really enjoy, whereas some people will run to the theater to see a new Star Wars trailer and then leave. I try to avoid it altogether so that I can just enjoy the movie for what it is. And I did that with this film, and I really had no idea that I was going to get any of the Dom flashback or Dom, what makes Dom moments.
Sure. Yeah.
So, you know, that it sits right there for me. That being said, if you ask me the plot of the film outside of that, a little still confused about like what exactly these things do in the key. It's a little but once again, that's not why I'm watching these films. I'm watching these films to kind of escape having to spend too much time trying to dive into the minutia, and I just want to hear more stories about this family that, you know, I've been following for some time. Which brings us to number 2, the one that I'm very excited to talk about today, Fast and Furious Part 4.
That's awesome.
The Return of Dom, if you don't count that moment in Tokyo Drift. And then that takes us to number 1, which is the Fast and the Furious, the one that started it all off for me, and a feeling as far as a whole, like the whole film has a feeling that I really don't feel was recaptured in any of the films, with the exception of Fast and Furious, which is, you know, Part 4.
What's it like, the grittiness, or like, can you put a word to it?
Yeah, I was trying, when I was watching yesterday, I was kind of trying to think, maybe it's so. All right, so the way I look at it like this: so you have Fast and Furious, right? And it is what it is. It's the movie that it is. It is gritty. It is street, and it feels very much like everyday people living a bit of extraordinary lives. Like they're going above and beyond their station in life to still VCRs, but regardless, you know, they're doing what they do, but they're not, you know, it's very grounded. While this film might be a little bit more on the crazy side as far as what they may or may not be able to do with vehicles, I feel like it captures a lot of things. I have notes because I watched this a different way than I usually have. I watched this in episodic chronological format, which is the Fast and Furious Film Saga digital set. It's films 1 through 6 with Tokyo Drift going in between 5 and 6. This came out right before 7 came out in theaters. It's got all the bonus features, making of, turbocharged, Los Bandoleros, all put in, and it's in like each film is like 3 episodes. So it's kind of, it's set into chapters, and it's just kind of a different way to watch it. I thought I would tackle it that way because I do have a 1-year-old now, so sometimes it's hard to sit down and rock out like 2.5 hours or 2 hours or whatever without interruption. So this was a nice, cool way to digest it. And it's also interesting to see where they choose to cut and pick back up if you look at a film in like 3 acts like that. But also I think that Too Fast, Too Furious, while it's a great film, it definitely went more of a humor. There's a lot more humor in that film with the addition of Tyrese. The dynamic between Brian and Tyrese is much more of jokey and not as serious as the one between Dom and Brian in the first one. So that one kind of feels different. And then Tokyo Drift obviously feels extremely different. Then, of course, you had this one, which I felt was kind of a return to the original formula, all the way to the truck heist in the beginning and, you know, the stealing of something like gasoline, like VCRs, Blu-ray players. You know, it's after that you hit 5, and I feel like the cast becomes exponentially larger and more expensive, and the tasks become ever increasingly difficult / unbelievable for some. So this is the last one where I kind of felt this is about street racers who live a life of crime, just trying to make a way. And after that, it becomes a little bit something more. Not in a bad way, but just something different than what it started out as.
Yeah, this is definitely a pivot movie that either ends what came before it, right, or begins what comes after, depending on how you want to like sort of watch this movie. And I think this is kind of a weird one, and I'm glad that you're here to talk about it, because normally this is one of the harder ones to fill with a guest, because I think people are just like, yeah, it's kind of the first one or whatever. Like, this is one that just sort of like people like, but they don't love. Like, this is the one that Joe was terrified to rewatch when we first started the podcast.
Dude.
And it's shaped and it's evolved in our thing, but like it's kind of a weird movie.
I think that this was a warm embrace to bring back fans that they may have lost over Too Fast and Tokyo Drift. Like, hey man, you know, this is what you fell in love with. This is still here, but now we're going to expound upon it. It is interesting because I oftentimes, especially watching these movies, wonder what's retconned and what. Obviously, certain things are extremely retconned, but you kind of wonder what was part of the plan and what just kind of fell together. And this movie is called Fast and Furious. The first one is called The Fast and the Furious. You know, it feels like they were putting a bit of a bookmark in there, you know, or a bookend, I guess. Like, this was supposed to be either the end or the beginning of something else, because, you know, all the other titles are not the most creative in the world, but a little bit more creative than just taking out the word "the" twice. Yeah.
I watched this today, and like, I'll get into it, but it was a very, very different, interesting watch. This is the most I've ever liked this film watching it today, because in the back of my mind, all I was thinking is that this was the first time that Justin Lin gets the keys to use the Fast and Furious characters and build on the story that existed beforehand. And I see so many parallels now, without spoiling anything, between this and how 9 was treated. And I really enjoyed seeing the comparison between those, coming off of 9, which is like the last one that I saw. And now I have even bigger hype in my own head for 10, because I know where he went from 4 to 5 to 6, and knowing that he did 9 and goes to and is going to do 10 and 11 now. Yeah. You see like what he built and where like 4 kind of leads to. And although we might, you know, we always said like 4, maybe I didn't like it at the time, stuff like that. But when you see like what it got you to 5, 6, and how he pivots and weaves everything together, I'm like, oh my God, like if he's plotting this with 9, 10 and 11 could be just gigantic. So
it's kind of like a guy entering a room like after his predecessor had been fired, just like, like where do you begin the cleanup, right? It's just like,
Yep.
okay, like here's their stuff everywhere. We're going to try to make sense of it. I mean, it's like he got rehired for a job or whatever, but I do like that. Like, it's sort of in a way what Star Wars, I think, wanted to do maybe, or maybe never wanted to do, but they had J.J. Abrams come in for 7. Like, okay, like we're going to reestablish some things, right? Like we're going to remake A New Hope. And then if he had been able to make 8 and 9, we might have had something more, 4, 5, 6, like in how it's sort of like a trilogy there. Instead, they bring in Rian Johnson, who makes the best Star Wars movie ever made. Thank you. I'm not accepting questions.
No, I'm right there with you, man. I thought you were going to go the other way, but I'm right there
No.
with you.
It's the best. It's my favorite one. I think it's far and away like the most interesting. All that, and then they're like, okay, cool. Now J.J. Abrams comes back, and and I don't hate 9, but I think 8 was so goddamn good and interesting and dynamic. And then I don't want to imagine a world where we don't have The Last Jedi, but I think if JJ had been able to do 7, 8, 9, you could see a thing that Justin Lin could do 4, 5, 6, or ostensibly, now I'm really excited now, Joe. Thank you for what you just said, 9, 10, 11, for sure.
Yeah. So that was my watch today, and I was just like breathing through this. Like, it was the most I've paid attention to it in a while, like really trying to pick up on little things and like seeing. Yeah, I was excited. This was good. I'm excited to talk about it tonight.
Cool. Well, before we dive into this movie, Corey, we got some I almost called you Simo there. I almost felt so comfortable enough. I'm like 20 minutes in that I almost called you Simo, and then I caught myself. I'm not there yet. I'm not there
I answered
yet.
to all.
Either or questions. Are you ready for some of the most difficult questions you will ever be asked?
Yes, I am.
And again, you know the show. You can either explain or not. If you want to remain a man of mystery, if you want to go in deep into your psyche, as much or as little as you want, it's up to you. Are you more of a Brian or a Dom?
Well, I'm definitely not a Brian. But it feels really like being as big of a fan of Dom as I am. Like, I don't think that I'm that badass too. I'm probably somewhere at a Jesse level. I'm a guy who looks up to Dom.
I'll write down Jesse. I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm a guy who looks up to Dom, and I'm a guy who envisions himself being somewhat on Dom's level, at least as far as, being a bit of a badass and a man who runs afoul of the law when need be for my own devices. But when it comes down to it, I'm really just a scared kid.
Fair
I
enough.
like that. That's a great answer.
So now, are you more of a Mia or a Letty?
Oh, I'm probably more of a Mia. But once again, I would love to look in the mirror every day and say, you're Letty. But I just don't think that I'm that badass. I think I'm way more. And not to say that Mia's not badass. Boy, Letty is probably one of the more badass females we've ever seen on TV, or on the screen. So, yeah, I'd have to go with Mia on that one.
Yeah, you can't. If you have any doubt when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're not a Letty.
No, she's not questioning whether she's a Letty or not.
So now, as a listener to the show, you know that there's a couple things that we do not understand about these movies. The first one, in the first movie, me and Brian doing dishes. Vince comes in, starts taunting Brian. Mia says, "Nate, Vince, what's the name of that Cuban restaurant? The one with the wood tables, the little red candles, the food all over the place." So for like Corey, you're up in the Northeast. We're gonna take you out to eat. It's gonna be a great place. We're gonna go to the place that's got the wood tables, the little red candles, the food all over the place. What does that mean to you? If you hear a restaurant described as having food all over the place, what does that mean to you?
So down here in Texas, we have a place called the Salt Lick Barbecue.
Of course, I've been there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they just have like a giant grill in the middle of the restaurant with meat hanging all over, from hooks and stuff. So that's what I go to. But I also think that maybe they were confused and they were just going to like a Benihana's, and she just...
Ooh, that's a Suki tie-in. Okay.
I just don't know. Maybe she just didn't... Maybe she just was not aware that was not Cuban food she was eating.
Okay.
Maybe she got teriyaki.
Confused. Yeah.
It would be very funny if, like, they wind up at Cha-Cha-Cha's, but they were just trying to go to Benihana, right? It's just like they all got it wrong.
Maybe it's just like a fondue place, and they just bring out a platter and a bowl, and they're like, "Here, do your thing."
The melting
you never
pot.
know.
Yeah.
You truly never know.
The melting pot.
Are you more of a Tej or a Roman?
That's a hard one. So,
are you a numbers guy or
physics
invincible?
guy?
I am horrible. I am horrible when it comes to math. I'm definitely a comedic guy. I would have to lean probably towards Tej. I'm a little bit nerdy. I deal with a lot of audio stuff and computers and whatnot. I'm kind of the guy who knows that stuff at my work, and my humor is a little bit more snarky. Some might say sarcastic. Some might say that guy's an asshole. You know what I mean? But it makes me laugh. Whether or not anybody else is laughing, it's not so on the nose, you know? So I would have to go that. But once again, probably actually just a Jesse guy. I'm just going to keep on bringing up Jesse till they put him back in the films.
Jesse again. That's fine. Because you know there's a door number 3 on all these options, and people don't take door number 3 often enough. Okay.
Right.
This could go one of 2 different ways, but I might have an ally here. Being where you live, are you more a fan of In-N-Out or Whataburger?
I'm a Whataburger guy.
Hell yeah.
Of course you are.
When I head out to California, which isn't that often, I mean, In-N-Out is a place that I hit very fast. The In-N-Outs that we have in Texas, which are fairly new, are not as good as the one. Yes, I hit it quite furious. You know, I do enjoy it, but it's just I grew up on the flavor profile of Whataburger, so it's kind of more my alley. But I mean, if I'm in New York, I'm eating Five Guys. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm fine. I'm not someone who is. I don't discriminate against any burger.
You are what Giselle says, a citizen of the world.
You go.
I do think that's one of the hangups with In-N-Out, because the last In-N-Out, the last couple that I had was in Austin when I was living there, and the one on 35, and it wasn't great. Like, it wasn't.
No.
You know.
It's not the same. I don't know what it is, but it's just not the same. You know, I might be a citizen of the world, or I might be like what when Sarah Marshall told Aldous Snow he's not a citizen of the world, he's just full of shit. It might be that too.
Corey, is Brian a good cop or a bad cop? Or said differently, however you want to answer the question, is he good at his job or is he bad at his job?
Well, I guess that depends on the perspective, you know. If you are somebody who is if you're somebody who is a superior and or possibly just a coworker like Stasiak, he's probably a pretty bad cop in your eyes, you know?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like an internet pop-up that just like bosses hate him.
Right. That's exactly what I mean. I think that the bosses probably hate him, and so from that perspective, if you're the brass, as they say, probably a bad cop. If you're a criminal who just committed a slew of federal crimes and you want to get away, and you're hoping that the bond that you've formed with the cop that's been chasing you lets you get away, well, then he's a good cop.
Sure. So bosses hate him. Criminals love him.
Criminals love him. So I guess it depends on what side of the law you fall on. You know, if you're into criminals, then he's great. If you're into more the law enforcement side, not so much.
Corey, you know the difference between a cop and a criminal? One bad judgment call, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time that I was thinking about that, and the way you said it, and you said like superiors and things like that, I was just thinking that I bet Brian's probably like an awesome coworker too. Like, I bet that he's probably pretty cool to like get lunch with. Like,
not for Stasiak.
But I mean, like, if you were like on his exact level,
right,
like, he'd be like, he has some fun stories. This guy like is into cars. He drinks. No, he'd probably be like a pretty cool guy. That's yeah.
I think that there's no question that he is one hell of a person to have on your team, whether or not that be on what side of the law. You know, if you're getting a tuna fish sandwich with the crust cut off, he's your guy. If you're trying to get him to operate within the bounds of, because, you know, this is bureaucracy, so I guess if you're trying to get him to operate in the bounds of the law that your bosses want you to uphold, and he's trying to get to his own designs, yeah, I can see why it'd be frustrating, especially in this film that we're talking about tonight with the famous smashing Stasiak right into a wall scene, which carried over to F9, oddly enough.
Crazy. Yep.
Yeah.
We pull a job. We are successful. We each have $10 or $11 million. We say to celebrate, we are going to Rio. We're going to Vegas. We're going to Monte Carlo. We're going to Atlantic City. Wherever we're going to go, we go to the roulette table. Corey, are you betting it all on red, or are you betting it all on black?
We should split up and definitely not go to the same place and same casino with this heist that we just pulled. But in the casino that I end up in, I'm going to go ahead and bet on black.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't hang out together as criminals and be a really easy target. Yeah.
I'll put $10 million on black.
Me too. So go to different casinos, then bet on black. Okay,
yes.
Cool. All right, on that job, you have a choice. Joe and I are like, we know what we're doing. We're both helping out. I don't know who's actually pulling this job because we're both the man in the chair.
Okay. Yeah.
But Corey, are you a racer or are you a designer? Are you the one out there in the field doing the work, or are you an HQ? Are you the man in the chair? Are you the one helping get it done?
I don't even know why I'm being so honest, because I could just lie, right, and be like, oh, definitely the racer. But once again, while I would like to look in the mirror and say you're the racer, I'm definitely the guy at HQ. I'm definitely the guy that's getting it done. I'm the man Friday, as it were.
There's no shame to that, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a necessary part.
Exactly. You need that guy just as much as you need the guy driving.
Are you a fan? This is one that I don't know where this is going to go. This could go either way. Are you more a fan of American muscle or imports?
American muscle.
Cool.
I'm not like a huge car guy, but I don't have really any affinity for imports outside of these films, to be exact. But I also kind of feel like overarching theme of a lot of the Vin Diesel scenes in these films are like American muscle all the way, baby.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I land on it.
This is another one. Being a Texas person, I don't know where this is going to go. Is the word oil one syllable or two?
Well, down here we call it oil, so it's one, right? So.
Yep.
So I'm an oil man. Daniel Day-Lewis in the film There Will Be Blood was an oil man. And I always thought that was really cool the way that he said. It's one of my favorite films of all time, in my top 3. And I always thought that was interesting because I feel like most oil men say oil men. But he says,
True.
I'm an oil man, which kind of is letting you know that this man is a bit of a snake oil salesman coming to pilfer and run away with it all. He's not really the oil man he says he is, so...
Interesting. I never thought about that before.
So the answer is one?
Oil. Yeah, one. It really more like a half, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
I don't even have to move my
I'll
mouth
do
to
a half.
say it. Yeah, I don't even have to move my mouth to say that one.
As you might know, it's a diphthong, so it's technically 1.5. So half increments are definitely allowed because, ooh. It's just a sound. It's just a guttural.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oil. My wife had some car trouble earlier today, and the first thing the guy I called on the phone said, "You checked the oil?" There was no space in between check the and oil. Check the oil. Also, because of that, I now smell like gas. So I'm really I am in the perfect
leaning into
place
this
right
today.
now. Yeah, I really am.
You got your Vin
prepped
Diesel
good.
shirt on. You smell like gas. You got
Yes.
nitrous oxide in your blood and gas tank for brains and so on and so forth. Are you
There you
more
go.
a fan of Corona or Belgian ale?
Corona. Yeah, Dos Equis, if I'm being honest, but, I'd definitely going away from the Belgian ale. I need something a little bit more refreshing in my life.
So
Mark
hot right
would be
now.
so ashamed of me listening as a Mark fan. His IPAs, man. Yeah, down here in Texas, it gets so hot, and I always look, if I'm drinking beer, it's always for refreshment purposes. Like, I need it because it's 110 degrees outside, and it's hot, and it's, it's rough.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well, so are
definitely
you a
not the
Lone
Belgian
Star
ale.
or a Shiner?
A Shiner.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people around here like Lone Star. I like Shiner, which is a little bit darker of a beer, but I don't know. That's one of the few darker. I don't know. It's not an amber. They have amber bock. It's one of the few darker beers that I really enjoy the flavor and everything of. But I don't want it on a hot day. I'll take it on like a winter evening.
Yeah.
Around the bonfire.
On the job, we're like, hey, Jesse, we need you to come out. You're no longer Jesse. You need to be the public Jesse. You need to be the public-facing Jesse. We need you to do a thing. We need to distract this room full of people with a song sung karaoke style, a cappella, whatever. What song are you singing?
Stay by Rihanna.
Ooh, that's a good song.
Well, I mean, that's the one that Vin Diesel sings when he does karaoke.
Is it really? Is
Have
that a
y'all not
fact?
seen that video? Yep. Oh, man. I try to post it all the
that's
time,
right.
but it keeps on flagging. Right. It flags me every time because he is so damn on point that they think it's Rihanna singing it. I would like to add a follow-up answer, King of Wishful Thinking by Go West, if you need something a little bit more upbeat.
Okay.
Off the Pretty Woman soundtrack, oddly enough.
So now that we've gotten you out in the field, we've gotten your toesies wet, we're like, okay, now you're in the field officially. We are out in the field, in the cars. Would you rather, knowing you're safe either way, drive into a plane before it takes off or out of a plane as it's in the sky?
Drive into the plane as it takes off or drive out of the plane into the sky.
Safe either way.
I would drive into the plane as it's taking off. But, once I get on the plane, I'm going to need a stiff drink and maybe a couple of Xanax because I do not fly well.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That influenced the answer the other way, too, because, you're like, I'm not going to be good getting into this plane trying to come out of it. That makes perfect sense to me.
Well, if the drink's stiff enough and the Xanax are plentiful enough, then there's a good chance I might be flying out that plane by the end of it anyways.
Another thing that we have no idea what it means, even though we kind of know what it means, but we don't know what it means. If someone is described as having no knees, we say no knees Denise, no knees whoever, no knees this, no knees that. What does having no knees mean?
It means they're a damn liability in a Muay Thai match. They've got a good stand-up, but they've got no knees.
Yeah.
So in the clinch, they're vulnerable. Or I guess it could be like, Cotton Hill, Hank Hill's dad, how he lost his shins in Korea. So I guess it could be a war injury, possibly.
Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe you had a war injury and that affected your Muay Thai career. There's levels to it.
There is.
Going back to the macabre conversation from earlier in the episode, we're picturing your death, and you're leaving your digital diesel collection to your son. How did you go out? Did you die in a fiery explosion, or did you die by drowning in icy water?
Oh, fiery explosion, please. That's more wishful thinking. Once again, King of Wishful Thinking by Go West. That's more of a wishful thinking thing. I have a real fear of drowning. I really don't like the idea of that going out that way. It seems slow. So, yeah, man, just blow me up. In fact, if I look like I'm possibly headed to drowning, please blow me up beforehand. Don't let me go out that way.
Cool. Okay. I mean, not cool, but cool.
Yeah, right?
Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight?
Comic or movie? Oh, comic
No
or
context.
movie, obviously.
No context.
This is still, I can just answer whatever I want, right? No, right?
Obviously.
or wrong.
Yeah,
okay,
always.
all right. Dark Knight, the comic, and that is the true Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and bow out now, guys, while I'm ahead. Thank you. I'll take my answers off air.
I need to do text wrapping on this column, which I've never had to do before, because that is an in-depth answer in a place I did not expect an in-depth answer, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Are you more of a Hobbs or a Shaw?
They're both such badasses on a whole nother level, but if I'm talking personality-wise, definitely more of a Shaw, because Shaw is kind of, in that certain dynamic, more of a, he's a smart mouth, little wisecracker, and, Hobbs is a little bit of a bully.
Yeah, I can see
So
it.
I think I'm going to go, I'll go with Shaw on that one.
And the final question, before we get into conversation here, we'll do some more fun and games later. Do you have a favorite character in the franchise? Is it Dom? As a Diesel guy, is it Dom?
Yeah, I love Dom. Watching this last one, I mean, I'm a big fan of reading a magazine whilst driving my truck and feeding my iguana truck driver, That guy's
Yeah.
great. The guy who got me watching and who keeps me watching is Dominic Toretto. That's any and all iteration of any age of Dominic Toretto. All encompassing.
Yeah.
So, that's who I got to go with. I know that's not the most creative or fun answer, but that's just the truth,
No.
guys.
I mean, you're not like us, who's just like, oh, it's Han. It's like, yeah, of course it's Han.
Yeah, I love Han, too. I think
Boring-ass white dudes. Come on.
I think that Han is great, though, man. I think that he's wonderful, and I like the little minutia of Han. I love the chip eating, and I love the kind of like a little snarky attitude he has as well. But for me, Han seems like a guy that is more like someone that I could just hang out with. Vin is like the guy that I wish I was cool enough to hang out with, or Dom. I don't really separate the two. I'm pretty sure at this point Vin Diesel just is Dominic Toretto.
Yeah, I don't think he separates them anymore either.
Joe, you would also say that because you can't keep Vin and Dom the word straight in your brain. You call one. It's the same thing to you, right?
It's 100% the same thing to me. I call him Dom when he's like doing interviews. I call him Vin when he's in the movie. Like I can't keep it straight.
Now that all of that hard work is out of the way, Corey, let's kick things off with a very important question. While watching Fast and Furious, in this world, in this timeline, where's Jacob? We've been playing the game, where's Jacob? Because Jacob has apparently, seemingly, existed since at least 1989. Ooh. But the movie, even with F9, vague spoiler for something that doesn't happen, they don't really explain where Jacob is at any point. It's not like they have like he's here and he's here and he's here. He's just doing his own thing. So in this world, in the world of 4 Fast, 4 Furious, where is Jacob? What is he doing while this movie is going on? Because he's not in the movie, but he's doing something. So where is Jacob?
Well, first let me say that you can't see John Cena, so I spent most of Fast 9 wondering where's Jacob.
Exactly. Touché, my
But in
friend.
this film, I like to think that Jacob is serving a small stint in a European prison where he will eventually meet a man with the last name of Shaw, who will get him into this seedy underworld that we're in.
Interesting. Okay.
Somebody has to recruit Jacob into this life of espionage, And it wasn't
I like
Dom.
that.
And also, just so we're very clear, well, I don't know. I don't want to. Are we in the part where I can spoil a little bit of F9 now?
Let's save that for later.
Okay,
I think.
my bad.
Save that toward the end.
All I was going to say is that I don't think that Jacob learned how to be a badass from Dom.
No,
I would agree.
I
would agree with that.
agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you. Yep.
That's not a spoiler, right? That's
No,
that's
definitely not. That's fine.
You're not going to be able to see him on the screen anyways, people. He's John
Exactly.
Cena.
Yeah.
Joe, what about you? Where's Jacob in your mind in this movie?
I don't know why, but I had a really internal feeling that Jacob is somehow in Las Vegas at this time.
Oh.
Like, we talk about it, and he could definitely have been at the crowd when Braga Campos is, at Top Golf on top of the car, sure. But I just had a feeling like at this time, it feels like Jacob would probably be in Vegas, probably pulling small-time jobs, maybe like Reno or something. And he's just like surviving, doing small heists, maybe running his own little crew, something like that.
Okay. Without being spoiled, we know what he says, the life he falls into, right? We know where he eventually gets an F9.
Yes, yeah, but that's a long time away. We got plenty of time.
That's true, but I'm still gonna say that he's working toward that goal, doing that job within the Braga Campos space. But he's like low level. He's working his way up, so he's like undercover, sort of, as like a bodyguard.
So you think he's either in Mexico and or L.A.?
Yeah, I think he's in LA. I think he's maybe transiting back and forth a little bit, but I think he is, to the average person, he's just working. He's a bodyguard. He's a bouncer at this club, but he's got something more going on.
Interesting.
He's just early in his line of work.
He's making his
shall we say.
bones.
Yeah.
Exactly. It also depends on if we want to pretend, and this is not a spoiler for F9, like if he's maybe keeping an eye on Dom.
How close he is, yeah.
I guess he can't be, like, Dom can't see him.
Literally.
For multiple reasons.
Yes,
of course,
exactly.
You can't see him. I didn't mean that as a joke, but I mean, like, you can't actually see him because you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That can't happen. But I do think that there might be a benefit kind of sort of keeping tabs on this up-and-coming crew led by this balding man in Los Angeles, right? So
Yeah. Okay. That's
right.
interesting.
All right, now, Corey, the floor is yours. Fast and Furious #4 is your second favorite movie in the franchise. What do you love about it? Hit us with your favorite parts, anything you don't like, big questions, big answers, big thoughts, all
right.
you. Everything's bigger in Texas. I did not mean that on purpose, but it all works out. Hit us with your thoughts. Where do you want to begin with this movie?
First off, I've owned this Fast and Furious film saga digital set for a while. This is the first time that I've actually watched this one in this format, right? Which is, once again, it's three chapters per film, with turbocharged and Los Bandoleros placed properly in Tokyo Drift in between 5 and 6. So it doesn't really affect much, unless if you were watching it from part 1 on, of course, you would miss Tokyo Drift. You'd go right into this after Too Fast. So it's chapters 7, 8, and 9 of 18, which I have lovingly named Chapter 7, Tokyo Rift. Chapter 8, Top Golf LA and Top Gear Mexico. And
True.
Chapter 9, the supercalifragilistic extra braggadocious conclusion.
Ooh, these are great chapter titles.
I have a
7,
question. Where did they cut off?
That's what I was fixing to tell you.
Go ahead,
Chapter
please.
7 starts with a recap, which includes pieces of Los Bandoleros. Not much, but a little bit. So I also think that's kind of cool. It's cool seeing what parts they choose for the recaps, because you really get to see what parts they feel set the story going into this, So a lot from 1, a little bit from 2, and then a little bit from Los Bandoleros to end it off. Then it ends, let me see. Chapter 7 ends after Brian and Dom, Brian and Dom car prep montage. This is the very amazingly Brian line of which one do you want? And he's like, I want them all. Whenever they're looking at the cars. Before the race. Chapter 8 starts Chapter 8, Top Golf LA and Top Gear Mexico basically starts at the Top Golf scene.
Perfect.
Which, I've never been to a Top Golf, but boy, they really nailed that for being kind of ahead of Top Golf, right?
Sure, right? I know. I think this all the time. When I'm at Top Golf, I only think of Braga Campos, for sure.
That chapter ends with Brian saving Dom after Dom and Phoenix's first standoff with the big explosion caused by the car lighter, which I absolutely love, because they don't really make those. They don't put those in cars anymore. So if that movie came out now, Dom would just be screwed in that situation. Whole different and much shorter film. Chapter 9 starts off, let me see, with I guess one of my favorite scenes ever, the dinner at Mia's with Dom's Corona that is completely foamed over. Like it's all half the bottle. It's like a cut shot, and when they come back they're sitting there talking. I mean, I can't tell if like centrifugal force is keeping the foam in, but it looks like the foam is literally coming out onto the table, and they're just, none the wiser. And then that one obviously.
Before we go further, I have a question about that scene.
Uh-huh.
I think we've probably talked about this before because I don't know that I have original thoughts on this podcast anymore. But
What?
Is every meal they have together just a game of chicken to see who bites first? We've made fun before of Jesse eating at the barbecue in the first one, and it should have been Brian, should have been making the mistake. Here, Dom makes the mistake, but I can just imagine all three of them like, I'm not reaching for food. I'm not going to be the one. Like, even though they all are religious or whatever, they all thankful at least, right? I can see them being like, I'm not going to be the one who makes the mistake.
I have a thought on this, and I think that this is more like a rule that only exists when they're all together. When they're apart, they're obviously not like, oh, I have to say grace because I reached first. So then you forget about it because think about it. Brian hasn't been with them for a while.
Dom hasn't been with them. They've all been off. Yeah,
they've all been off. So when they first got back together, then it's like the first person to remember that says it. And you're like, oh, yeah, we used to do that. Sorry.
So maybe it's also just, like, wrapped up in the emotion that, like, he's seeing his sister for the first time in a while. He's seeing this guy who, like, he'll soon find out didn't, obviously, but might have had his girlfriend killed, but also let him go. And then, it's the relationship that once was, that almost was, that now is. And so, there's just, like, a lot of, and just, you can forget and be like, oh, shit, I shouldn't have grabbed that chicken.
Yep.
If I can go a little bit deeper, I think that that's right. I think that it's almost like a reassimilation for Dom, especially because after he abandons the crew and goes off on his own in Mexico, it's his first time really that we see him kind of without a family. So it's almost like he forgot. But I also think that it frames a bit of a coming of age and maturity for Mia, because it's her that smacks Don's hand or stops him, and he kind of gives her this look like, the teacher has become the student has become the master. The circle is complete. So I think that a lot of this film, while it is definitely fan service and callbacks, I think that it also shows a lot of growth in the characters, because a lot of the callbacks are kind of reversed roles and whatnot, and it's just showing that this film is, it's not a lot of times you get sequels these days, even then, that it just feels like they're just kind of rehashing, and this one is showing growth, and it's showing that these are not the exact same characters that we left back on the streets of LA or in the desert of LA and stuff. These are characters that have gone through a little bit more of life, and they Brian's hair is a completely different shade. With no
They're all
explanation.
40 years older now, based on...
Yes.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, man, Mia looks great in this film. She still
I thought that this time too.
She still really has, and not to say that she looks bad now, but there's definitely a point where she has more of a mature look, and she's still a beautiful, beautiful woman and just drop dead sexy. But her look becomes a little bit more stern and a little bit more. She looks more like a parent.
She becomes a mom. Yeah.
She becomes a mom, and yeah, on this one, she still have that kind of, I don't want to say young, but kind of, but also, although she's gone through a lot and she's definitely hardened, she hasn't gone through the more extreme things that might come later on in her life. So even though she's not one of the more prominent characters as far as the action and stuff, once again, it's about these places in between, and I think they show a lot of growth for her. And just to wrap it up, that chapter 9 ends with one of my favorite endings ever, which is, of course, the setup for the Dom prison bus break, which we talked about this being a jumping off point for a massive expansion with the franchise, and I feel like that is kind of the setup. I feel like the smirk he gives you is like, buckle in, motherfuckers, we're going for a ride.
I was thinking similarly toward the end of the movie that, like, I don't know why I got excited, because, like, it's just how the show works. But toward the end of this movie, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, we got Fast 5 next. And I think that's the same thing that maybe you're saying, like, Vin was smiling because he's like, they don't know what's about to hit them or whatever, right? Like, we're going to blow this wide open. But there is something like, when you know how this ends and then how seamlessly it segues into how the next one begins, it's like, oh yeah, like, it's about to get real good, or, less good, depending on your point of view. But also, I
think that, like I said, with the name Fast and Furious, I feel like even if their plan was to go to the moon and beyond, I think that the idea was to make the fan think that you were going to see the final installment, the wrap up. Maybe not a fan who's reading media. I don't know if they had announced 5 yet at that time or not. when you watch it, it almost feels like you're ending a story. You have a major character who is dead, and you have them kind of coming together one last time for this redemption story. And it ends with, like I said, a very Vin Diesel smirk to the camera and almost a little bit of a recline. Like, you almost see him sink down in his seat, like, I'm just going to sit back for this. And yeah, man, I mean, that franchise explodes from that point on. Not to say that this one wasn't amazing in the theaters and the box office. I think at the time it was the highest grossing car film of all time, and like it did very well. But 5 and on, they just keep on making more money. So I like a lot of things about this. I love that the whole film starts off with a vehicle centric heist. There's still racing and stuff involved in Tokyo Drift and Too Fast, but I don't think that there's a vehicle-centric heist, high-speed heist on cars and whatnot. I love that they're stealing gas. I think the plan is super innovative. I love that at the end, whenever they go to the party, you see people filling up their cars with stolen gas. Because I never saw anybody using a DVD player or cutting a cigar with a stolen cigar cutter. So I like that they're actually utilizing what they stole, I have down here that it's the best intro of all the movies for me. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's
high
high
a couple times recently. Yeah.
I did a little bit of reading about it, and of course they did a wonderful job of hiding Letty's death from the audience before the film. The trailer featured her heavy. That's not obviously what happens. You don't really get much Letty at all. But in the little bit of time that we do get Letty, there's this moment on there that I have here, and every time I type Letty, it autocorrects to lettuce. So that's her name now for me. So it says just in big letters, Lettuce and Dawn's trust. There's the moment when she's got to jump off the car and Dawn's got to catch her. And they have this very Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, come on, baby moment from True Lies where he says, I got you. And she jumps, and that's the trust between them, which once he leaves her, he leaves her vulnerable. He is the person who's protected Letty for so long, and they set that up. Even if you've never seen any of these other films, you can feel the gravitas of their relationship and the dynamic on that one scene in the beginning. So I love that scene a lot, man. I think that scene's great. I also love this film because this is the height, and some might say the real beginning, too, of Dom's white shirt fashion, like the white jean vest in the open. The silky white button up on the beach, or the ribbed white flannel that he likes so much he wears twice.
I think that's like him getting in touch with who knows what his actual ethnicity is in this movie or in real life, but like his DR roots. Because I think like on vacation, he's an all white kind of guy. He just likes to wear the white. And so this is, he's back off that Los Bandoleros trip. He's here now and he's still rocking that Latin state of mind. Maybe. I have no idea. I'm just guessing, but maybe.
I also think that it's because I think it kind of shows this is, a bit of a reach maybe, but I think that it also symbolizes that he's no longer a mechanic or a grease monkey, as one might say.
I like that.
Because you're not going to wear as much white. If you see any of the scenes where he's working on a car, he chains back into his old vest from the shop. Or it's not a vest, it's a shirt. He cut the sleeves off. He made it the vest.
Yeah.
But with pythons like that, what are you supposed to do, right?
Like we've talked about Dom as Christ figure, and obviously there's a white connotation there too, and like light and pure and good. But I like that, like it's clean. It's just I no longer have to get my hands dirty. If I want to, I will, but I don't have to.
Yeah,
and it's a bit of badassness, right? Like if you can like pull off some of the things he's pulling off and not even have a stain. I can't even eat a bowl of spaghetti without ruining a shirt.
Yep.
So I mean,
I'm glad you
he's
said that
great.
because like I've bought a couple shirts recently, and like. When I put on a new shirt for the first time, my first thought every time is like, I got to be careful when I eat today. But like 99 days out of 100, I don't spill food on my shirt, but I still think about it every time I'm like, ooh, I don't want to get this shirt dirty. I'm there with you. I don't know what that is, but man.
Just black shirts, man. That's it.
Yeah.
I wear nothing but black shirts. I spill on my shirts all the time. You never see it.
Maybe just eat better.
It's ridiculous that in 2021 it's not more acceptable to wear adult bibs in more restaurants. I mean, if you go to like an all-you-can-eat crab place or like a crawfish broil down here, like they might give you a bib. But I feel like anywhere I don't understand why I get weird looks whenever I tie on my adult bib in Olive Garden. I just don't
So
get
here's
it.
an idea. Here's an idea. Either number one, only eat seafood, so you only go to places that give you bibs.
No.
Or number two, get all sweaty and wear like a running outfit, and then have a runner's bib around you. And be like, oh, I just came from the race. I just didn't have a chance to take it off yet. and then that's your actual eating bib.
Yeah, or I was thinking about maybe investing in like something similar to an old school smoking jacket and just have an eating jacket that I put on to just catch all crumbs and sauces.
Just gets caked in food on every meal and you just never wash it. No, I guess that works too.
I mean, I got the 1-year-old now and I see the bib work on him and I'm like, man, this guy's got the right idea over here, you know?
Seriously.
Sure.
Other than that, man, I just, there's so much stuff that I love, some character or some casting choices that I think probably didn't matter then, but matter a little bit now. Like, for instance, Laz Alonso, who plays Mother's Milk in The Boys, played Phoenix. John Ortiz was Dr. Powell in Bumblebee, which you guys just watched, and I absolutely love. You have Brandon T. Jackson, who's Al Pacino in Tropic Thunder, playing the other guy in the car. Nice car, man! And then you've got Musa Kraish, who plays Billy, who wets his pants in Superbad. I always thought that was great. Okay. Yeah. People don't forget Billy. And then, of course, you have the on-screen debut of the goddess known as Gal Gadot, which I love. Sure. Even after I've seen all the Wonder Woman stuff and a whole Snyder cut in black and white and in color, I still watch this film and I am just absolutely taken aback by the symmetry of this woman's face. She is just absolutely a specimen, and her accent is just alluring, man.
Again, a citizen of the world. But that's actually one thing that I'm kind of... Well, actually, no, I take that back. I was going to say the movies have become too big to have, like, give someone, like, a true unknown. I mean, not unknown, but, like, a first acting role to someone. But, like, you could do that again with the flashback scenes. Like, you give some kind of, like, kid, like, a break or whatever.
Yep.
Or, similarly, like, Cardi B was in Hustlers barely. But, I mean, like, it's a different kind of thing. Like, you could bring in music. I feel like they're focusing on musicians, right? Like, they're bringing in Ozuna, they're bringing Cardi B, whatever. But, yeah, I don't know that we're going to get another Gal Gadot thing.
We had a new character in F9 that I'm not going to spoil, but we had a new character.
Speaking of who the hell is that girl, who is Han's lady in that opening scene of this film?
Oh, so that is from Los Bandoleros.
Yes.
That is Cara or Mirtha. Her real name, her actor's name is Mirtha. But she goes by Mirtha in one, she goes by Cara in another. And there is an F9 connection to that character.
Okay.
Specifically her, yeah.
Yeah, this is also the one where Don Omar and Tego Leo are IMDb'd as their actual names, Don Omar and Tego Leo.
And they keep calling him T in this one, which we've learned is not, I guess could be Santos, like T for Santos, but at the beginning of this one...
So wait, they're calling Don Omar that?
Well, so at one point in this movie, Letty says Tego. Because he's like, I can do it in one. And she's like, all right, let's go. Come on, Tego. And she says Tego. So, like, they're calling Tego T.
Yes.
Right.
But they are now officially, canonically introduced in F9 as Leo and Santos.
So, I might be mistaken, but the actor's name is Tego Leo, right?
I think it's Tego Calderon.
Oh, okay. Is he a musician?
He is.
Okay,
Yes.
so they have Don Omar and Tego have a song in this, correct?
Yes.
Correct. They did. I think they did Los Bandoleros. I think, is that maybe?
Yeah, that's the name of the song. Yes.
Yeah. So they did like the song that's in both Tokyo Drift and Los Bandoleros. I think.
You're probably right.
We were just actually coincidentally someone messaged us on Instagram like, you should do a lap about the soundtracks. I'm like, well, we're going to. Like, it's been on the list for, like, I just don't know how to frame a lap around that, but we will. At some point, we will cover these soundtracks because, again, nothing but time when we got 22 years before we finish F9, right?
Yeah,
so
true.
we got time.
Yeah.
Dude, I like the F9 soundtrack. I listen to, like, I work at a hip hop station. I listen to a lot of hip hop, and these soundtracks, even whenever soundtracks really fell off and weren't really doing big, they're making a huge comeback right now. But I mean, these soundtracks were still cranking out a lot of hit songs. Sometimes they were songs that were already hits that they were pulling, but especially I guess whenever the Wiz Khalifa stuff and of course the 2 Chainz stuff started, I program my station, so even now we'll play We Own It, even though it has not charted in quite some time.
Yeah.
But people are just gonna have to deal with my own opinions every now and then when it comes to the music.
I also agree, and I'm such a fan of the more recent soundtracks that before we went to F9, I was like, oh, let me play some Fast and the Furious music. We were waiting for our buddy to arrive so we could go drive to meet Joey. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to play any songs from F9 because I just want to experience the soundtrack as I go in. Because when we went to go see Hobbs and Shaw, I thought that had a killer soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and see what they have on Hobbs and Shaw. I was bitter watching it, but I got to go
The
back and see.
soundtrack, like even if you don't rewatch it, just go listen to the soundtrack. I was like, holy shit, there's like 4 or 5 songs on here that I was like, I actually just really enjoy these songs standalone outside the movie.
I think there's a difference in the soundtracks in that, and again, this might just be our connections with the movies, but like, I don't know that any of these songs since See You Again, I don't know that any song in 8 or Hobbs or 9 will ever be like on the Mount Rushmore or whatever Fast and Furious songs. I think they're all great songs. Like I think the Breathe remix, the Prodigy song that they remix, that Wes pointed out, I think in either an email or a message to us or whatever. And then there's also the song Furiosa that they sing in 9, which are great. And like I agree with you, like Time in a Bottle and stuff in Hobbs and Shaw is great. But like if you're picking the best and most important songs, it's Danza Kuduro,
We Own It, yeah.
We Own It, it's
See You
Los
Again.
Bandoleros, it's Tokyo Drift, it's all those, right? Like it's just nothing, and See You Again, like it's nothing that since that like where hearing a song puts you in a scene in a movie. Like
Yeah.
you hear
Yeah.
Danza Kuduro, you see them crack the safe, right?
Yep.
You hear the Drift song and you just see them in the garage driving around or whatever, right? Like the new ones, like maybe Time in a Bottle, you see Hattie kicking ass or whatever, but like they're good songs, but I don't know that they connect
Right.
to the movie in a way that
That's
the
fair.
earlier ones did.
Speaking from a radio perspective, right now the one that we're kind of watching is Lane Switcher, the Skepta and Pop Smoke. They play it at the credits, and I believe they play it in the movie as well. Pop Smoke, of course, passed away, and so everything that comes out from him is big business out here, and it just immediately starts charting and stuff. So but I definitely agree. Like it's not. I have the song on my phone. I enjoy the song, but when I watch it or when I listen to it, I'm not watching the film in my head, even though I just saw it. It doesn't take me right to there, you know. I also put on here that David Ayers did some uncredited rewrites on this film, so I think
and
that's
he also,
cool.
He worked on the first one too, I think.
Yeah, that's the first one is his. That's his. He directed that one, right? Oh, he wrote it. Excuse me, I meant to say right. Yeah, he wrote that one.
because he wrote that. Yeah, because then he would go on to do like Fury and stuff, which also rules. But like,
Right.
David Ayer and of course Training Day and End to Watch and stuff. But yeah, no, he's someone who kind of has like a big influence on these movies that like kind of doesn't get the credit in a way.
Well, he kind of helped set a tone for it, and that's kind of why I think maybe, like, I just put it down because when I read it, I thought, that might make sense why this film is so high for me, because maybe he put some little touches in there that helped a fan like myself, he helped bring us back into the fold, as it were. So I have on here, the GPS rerouting repeating message is the most relatable part of any driving scene in the franchise.
That's very true.
But it just
very
keeps
true.
on saying rerouting, and then it's like, turn if possible. Are you kidding me? And it's just so funny because, this has to be pretty early on in, like, personal GPS systems. They mention it numerous times. They say when they get in the car, when the GPS is loading up, there's the line with Brian and Vin where he's like, things have changed, or I think that, like, GPS was supposed to be just the height of all
Hot
technology at that point,
Yeah.
Even Braga asked him, you need to borrow my GPS? Like, you can't afford GPS. I got it, but you can't. So I think that that's funny, man, because once again, it's sometimes you can watch these films and they get kind of crazy and you're like, boy, it's hard to relate to some of this. Like, I really don't know what it's like to be, doing any of these things in a vehicle. I drive a little bit under the speed limit, if I'm being honest. But that GPS rerouting message as you're trying to get to somewhere and you're going the right way, yeah, that one hit real close to home. I also think it's great that they made Papa Dwight, that is, a foot fetishist.
I thought that we always talk about it, but like this time I was like, what balls you have to put a foot fetish in this random blockbuster?
After he called Brian nutsack like 3 times. You just kind of don't expect these days, I also noted that this was probably the first appearance of a NOS energy drink, which I believe was spawned from this franchise, right?
No, I think it
Really?
existed beforehand.
I think this definitely hit the NOS on like its popularity, but I think it existed
Right.
before.
See, I didn't know that. I never did any research, but I assumed that it came from this franchise because I just started seeing them. But you're probably right. It probably just boosted it.
I think that they'll deny it, but I think that the franchise probably played a huge influence on them and their branding.
It's a big part, branding-wise, of this film, because...
Yeah, so...
he uses it to dead the tracking bug, and it gets way more screen time than any labeled can I've seen in a film in quite some time. Sure. They stay on that thing, So they definitely got their money's worth, whatever might have been put in for this. I also was very curious. Do you guys think that Phoenix kills the drivers every time?
Dwight's still around.
I've never spent a lot of time thinking about like their roles in the crew. Maybe.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Braga has a line where he says, when Dom questions him about it, he says, you can always find more drivers. But at that caliber of driving,
right,
and in that specific area, if you just keep killing them, how many runs can you actually do if you're trying to run this big business?
Yeah.
It just seems a little short-sighted.
Yeah, it's not like it's a one-time thing. Like, they have a recurring drug business, right? It'd be very funny if there was, like, an accountant or, like, an Uncle Kamada type from Tokyo Drift where just, like, Braga, let's talk about this for a second. You gotta stop fucking killing these guys because it's setting us back in the timeline and it's costing us money. Like, stop
bottom
doing
line.
it.
Like every single time. So that means that every time they have to have a race to qualify. They have numerous races because Dwight had already qualified. Papa Dwight was already in there.
Yep.
So they have to have numerous races to qualify. Go through the whole tracking. They have to load up the cars. They got to drop them. They got to hope that everyone follows because, I guess you could just veer off the road. And then they have to kill them all. I'm assuming bury the bodies. If the border agents were to find these tunnels, they would find just a plethora of graves around it.
Yeah.
And on the American side, if I believe, of soil. I think that was like on the American side. So, you're getting extra. It just seems like a really weird way to run a business.
And, like, when they come back, like, street racers are now missing. Like, this would be, like, a big story in the street race community. You'd be like, yeah, my buddy Greg won the last race, talked to this guy, and he never came back.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You start to connect the dots if they're killing these guys every single time. Like, how many they have? Like, 4, 6 here? Like, you're losing 4, 6 guys at a time? Like, the street race community isn't that big. You'd start to notice.
Right, and then I also, if that is the case, if you're going to kill them, no matter what, you're pulling out the gun as Phoenix and you're offing them all. Then why roll up and say sloppy, real sloppy, just to add insult to injury? Just to be like, what was the point of that, man? If you're just going to off them, what does it matter if it was sloppy or not? You're done now.
Yeah.
So
I think
thought
they
that
might
was
keep
weird
some
too.
of the good ones.
And then just kill the other ones?
Yeah, I think so. And that's why Sloppy was like, I can't save any of these fuckers. And just like, I'm just going to kill all of them this time.
Yeah.
But like, if it was like, oh, you did a good job, it would be like, yeah, you get like 3 more runs before we kill you.
This is probably why I'm not an international drug smuggler. I just have too many questions. It would probably kill me just for asking these things. One of my favorite lines of any of the films is the line whenever Brian says to Mia, you asked me why I let your brother go, and he says, quote, at that moment I respected him more than I did myself. I thought that was a great line. I thought it brought a lot of closure to the final scene of the first film, or the conclusion. It made a lot of sense to me in a film where, this is not the film that has the best, not to say that has the worst, but it's not like a film that's heralded. It's not Daniel Day-Lewis dialogue here. These guys are getting right through it, and it's not too much exposition to have a line that really wraps up really what the Brian character was, because that's such a hectic scene with from the Letty having to get to the hospital and on the phone, and or who is not Letty, was it Vince or is it Leon that gets hurt on the first one? It's Vince, right? Yeah. So Vince, they got to call the hospital, or he got to get the dispatch to send out the ambulance, and Dom finds out. It's very high pace, it's very hectic, it's just kind of frenetic, and there isn't really a moment where he says, this is why. It's not just because I'm dating your sister. It's not just because I kind of became a father figure or we're buddies. It's because he saw Dom as the hero and saw himself as the bad guy. And I think that for probably any police officer or FBI agent in that space is probably pretty weird. So I thought that was a cool little way to tie that up. And I also am a big fan of what I like to call Detective Diesel and his resting Vin face. So during the Letty death flashback, and you also see a very similar moment in F9 with no spoilers attached, but he has his quiet vision, his smoldering gaze, and his furrowed brow, and things it's kind of Willem Dafoe and Boondock Saints-ish,
100%,
he paints the
100%.
picture, and I think that's cool, and it's not something that they use all the time, but I think it's cool that aside from being hell of a mechanic, total badass, and a paterfamilias, the guy is also quite the detective.
Yeah. I really like these weird flashback scenes. I always related to Boondock Saints and Willem Dafoe doing, then there was a firefight.
Yes.
Getting something similar to that recently was like very gratifying. I was like, I did miss this.
Up to that point, up to like the, I guess, what would be chapter 9 of the film that I'm watching. And then, of course, like I said, you have that wonderful dinner at Mia's scene. You have the Letty undercover working for Brian reveal. You have Dom putting the ass whooping of a lifetime on Brian. All of that really checks out, and it tracks well. And then you have to wrap up the movie, and you have to get ready for Fast 5. So things get a little wonky. Like, for instance, the whole reason that Brian is suspicious of the quote-unquote Braga character that is actually Sonny Red from Donnie Brasco is just because he's wearing a pink tie. Like, there's nothing else. There's no words. It's just, were you wearing pink when you were climbing up from El Barrio?
I think it's that, but I also think that, like, by that point, they know who they think is Campos, and they're like, there's no way this guy is a number 2. Like, he's too chatty. Like, he would have been killed off, I think.
Yeah.
Like, if Braga was Braga would have gone, or if how do I say this? If Pink Tie was Braga, he would have said to Phoenix, take this guy out back and shoot him or something. Like, just like,
he's too talky. Yeah.
Do you guys remember if the first time you watched it, if you knew that Campos was Braga beforehand?
I don't remember. It was maybe one of those things where, like, I was not surprised by it, but I don't know that I would have said, oh, that's the guy. Like, I just think, like, it's a kind of common-ish movie twist, right?
Yeah. I didn't stand up in the theater and yell, holy shit, but I mean, I don't remember knowing going in. But there's other little things that are just so Fast and Furious-y. Like, for instance, the fingerprint scan took weeks to provide results. The FBI moved in without Brian's target confirmation, and Brian got removed for the case and investigated for all that.
Yeah, because Stasiak was the one who was like, let's go, we're moving, we're going.
Yeah, it's
and
all
Brian's
him, man.
Like, Brian's the one that gets in trouble. Yeah. Man.
And I love him. Do y'all know his name, the actor who plays Stasiak? I love him in Boardwalk Empire. I love
Shea
him.
Wiggum. Yeah. Shea Wiggum.
He's great, but boy, he can play a doofus number 2 better than anybody. You know, I think he just has that thing going. I also love the fact that there's a gold Cadillac in the final chase scene that's just like launching all over the place. I also love that Dom pops a wheelie to protect himself from bullets. I think that is fantastic, and that's so Fast and Furious. That's exactly what I'm looking for when I watch these movies, specifically in Vin Diesel-centric scenes. Like, I need him to do the most absolutely ridiculous thing he can do. Like, you could just duck, probably, and you would have more protection from, like, the whole engine block and everything. But no, he pops that wheelie, man. And I know that Mark had made a comment, and I'm not trying to throw Mark under the bus, but I just listened to the episode. But he had made a comment about the races in the tunnel being a bit redundant. And when I watched it, they definitely are, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that they are made to kind of up the ante. So prior to this, in Tokyo Drift and in Fast 1 and in Too Fast, most of the race/car scenes are street races.
Yeah.
But this one was both an off-road race and an underground race. So I think that they were just kind of trying to say, like, hey, man, we're taking it off the streets. And then if you proceed to watch 5, 6, 7, 8, on and on, you see that, like, it keeps on building upon that, you know. But this is kind of the first time, if you look at it in the context of it, they're, you know, taking these street racing films and they're like, now we're putting it on dirt, now we're putting it in a tunnel. So now that we've seen what we've seen, when we look back, we're like, but at the time, I think that I thought that was pretty cool that they had came up with that idea.
I like that, and I like that from the context that, like, it's leading you in softly.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said before, like, that's where I'm getting excited about 9, because, like, everything that he's doing, like, when you look back on it and when we were watching it this time, you're like, there's, like, lots of little hints that, like, okay, like, we're going somewhere else, but just follow along. Here's a nice, gentle introduction to it.
One of my favorite lines of any movie ever, you know, and like I said, I'm a Daniel Day-Lewis guy, so there's some good lines up there. But Dom literally smashes Phoenix with a whole car and then says, pussy.
Yep.
And what I can only assume is supposed to be his, like, East LA kind of Hispanic accent, but, you know, his racial ambiguity is part of the reason why we love Vin Diesel so much. But I think that that's just so funny. And also, I kind of feel like you might not get that in some of these later films. I feel like, you know, the dialogue, I think y'all had made a comment about F9 not having an F word.
I don't think I did. I didn't hear one.
And I think that, you know, I don't think that that's something that they might throw into one of these newer ones now that they might be considered a little more family friendly. But, you know, that's Fast and Furious for me. That's just some of the stuff I wrote down and some of the thoughts that I had. It's such a fun film for me. It's it sinks in the most of all of the sequels starting from number one. Number one, is right there for me, but the other ones, like I said, I can watch them and kind of drift in and drift out. If I put on 5, 6, 7, any of those, I can watch them and I can enjoy them, but I'm not as into the plot as I was to this. And I think a big part of that is that I'm a fan of Michelle Rodriguez, and I love the Letty character, and the stakes are just so high. This guy is Superman, not only in these films, but to me growing up. So seeing him hurt to the level that he's hurt by Letty, and not only that, but as I mentioned earlier, the feeling that this is his fault. He left her alone. He left her vulnerable, and this is his thing. And then of course Brian adds on to that, like, oh, the only reason she's dead is because she was trying to help you. So I guess that the stakes are really high, and they matter a lot to me in these. Like I said, in some of the other ones, I sometimes have trouble remembering exactly what it is the bad guy's trying to accomplish or what they're trying to stop. But in this one, it's very clear cut for me. It's a revenge story. It's a redemption story, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Obviously my second favorite, and who knows, maybe someday F9 might overtake that. It just depends. Sometimes you have to live with it, or it might go down some, but I think it's going to stay up there pretty high.
I do want to go back to something you mentioned a while ago about Mia being, and Jordana Brewster, the actress, but also just Mia being more mature and more like kind of motherly and so on and so forth. Given that this movie and Fast 5 occur back to back, right? Because this movie ends where that one begins. Basically, at the beginning of that, maybe there's a little time that elapses, whatever, but Mia's pregnant, right? So I wonder if the moment where they conceive baby Jack is their like reunion, like their makeout scene in this movie. Do you think that we saw the conception of baby Jack O'Connor?
That is a distinct possibility.
In that like after dinner type situation?
Yeah, where it's just like, we can't do this apart anymore or whatever. Like they're both sorry and they're just going to get back together. Because like, I know that there's time for anything to happen, but like there's a lot of shit going on. Like I don't know literally when else they would have time for sex other than right then.
I guess you're right, yeah.
I mean, I guess there's like the arraignment and everything, and like they get, there's time. But
yeah, you know what? Like when they're like meeting up to like pick up the cars to go break Dom out, maybe like during that plot.
That's like immediately before the breakout. Like there might be a couple weeks between that and like when we see her in Fast 5 and she's already vomiting. And I don't think you vomit like in the first month.
Are we leaving out the judicial process and the time that could have been between...
That's what I'm thinking. Like it's probably more likely in there, but also I'm okay with it being what we see here. Just like, oh wow.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't remember, does that scene fade to black?
Oh, did they quadruple space? I don't know.
Oh, I don't remember either.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were interrupted or anything. I didn't know if he got to, finish up or whatever. I don't remember.
Mia tossed the shirt at the camera type situation.
One of my favorite things about y'all's podcast is stuff like that. Like when I watch these films, it's really kind of just a release. It's something I don't want to think about. So when I get to listen to y'all's podcasts, like y'all bring up things about time that I just would have never thought about, y'all but of course y'all have made it through quite a few laps of these. So I'm sure that's, but I always find it interesting. Like I never would have thought of that. I never think of the timeline. Even some of the issues that y'all had with the F9 timeline. Like I was like, oh, I didn't think about any of that.
I'm glad you say that, because some other friends who like read the Wall Street Journal thing that we were quoted in were like, wait, you've seen these movies 11 times? I'm like, yeah, well, like 9 times for the podcast, and I'd seen them before. Like, what do you think? Like, yeah, like it's like, I'm not saying it's not insane, but it shouldn't come as a surprise if you know the format of the podcast that we've seen these a bunch. So with that said, we're thinking about those things because it's like we can't think about the same things every time. Like, we see F9, it's just like, oh my god, we're taking it all in, and then like starting this next time when we watch it again next week, it's just like, okay, time to break it down to its core elements. And I think even then, like I'm sure Joe was thinking of the same way that I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like a crazy Fast and Furious minute or something, right? Like it's just like looking at all these little things, like our brains are broken.
They're very broken. But
it's good for the listeners, like that's what I'm saying. Like for someone like myself who, I watch the films and I've seen them a lot, and obviously I own them. So, shout out to you, son, because you're going to get all those bad boys. But it's really cool to to get a kind of dive deep. I've also been into wrestling for a lot of time, for different times in my life, and when I kind of fell off of watching the actual show, I started getting really into like the behind the scenes type of podcast that some of these old bookers and stuff do, because it's really nice to learn things that you didn't know or pay attention to stuff that you may never notice before, and you guys definitely help navigate that.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Can we talk a little bit about the beginning of the movie and do some F9 spoilery stuff?
Well, I want to say one more thing. I want to see if there's anything else, but there's one more thing that I want to point out about this movie specifically.
What?
Is that at one point when they're making fun of Brian for all the destruction he caused in the beginning when he's doing his parkour stuff, they say it's the Brian O'Connor Downtown Olympics, and I'm thinking now at the Olympics this summer, like, could that be a thing? Like, could we make the Brian O'Connor Downtown Olympics, where it's just like an urban version of the Olympics, and not urban as in like anything other than just like doing it in a city on the city streets?
For like us, like could we make a personal...
No, I'm not saying us, because nobody wants to see us do the Olympics. I'm just saying, like, if we make like, a viral challenge, the Brian O'Connor Downtown Olympics.
I always thought, like, going into it, that the parkour was a lot more proficient on Brian's side, but when I watched it this time, I was thinking, this is kind of like parkour defense. Like, he's kind of stopping the other guy's parkour more than he's achieving his own.
Yeah.
Sure. And then, like, his career will kind of not come full circle because this is in the middle of his career, but I think his last movie he did was Brick Mansions, which we covered in the Paul Walker lap, and that's a lot of parkour in that movie, too. So, this is not the last time that Paul Walker will do parkour. So,
Right.
Do either of you have any other thoughts about 4? Otherwise, we can talk about the beginning of this movie, connections to 9, and then, Corey, you could share some thoughts about 9, too. But anything else about this movie before we throw up another spoiler warning?
I'm good.
Whenever you ask me which one to do, I like through Tokyo Drifting because I'm like, well, everyone's going to want to do 4, but no one will want to do Tokyo. So I kind of threw that in as my backup, and whenever y'all got me 4, I was just so excited. So I just want to thank every other guest on Lap 9 who turned down 4, man. I don't know what y'all were thinking, but y'all really missed out on one hell of a rewatch.
I feel like the ones that people who have seen all the movies, I think the most common ones, the easiest ones to book are the first one, 5. I would say about half the people have Tokyo Drift on the list, the other half have no interest. It's one of those either real hit or miss.
Well, the ones after this, like I said, the ante gets up so much that I feel like there's a lot to talk about. I feel like it's, you can watch it and there's just so much going on, and there's so many different actors that are being introduced and roles and relationships that are developing. There's a lot, but this one, it's pretty central to the 4 characters that, are 4 including Letty, but to the 3 characters that are really the central part of part 1. And so that's why I kind of enjoy it and enjoy the challenge of being able to come up with some hopefully compelling content around this film that is a bit like, like you said, it's kind of a vehicle of fan service to get you from part 1 into what they're eventually going to do with this not new franchise, but this new direction of the franchise.
Sure.
So I love the transition from a smaller cast film to what would become a huge ensemble film going forward.
Let us talk about the beginning. Let's talk about F9. So if you have not seen F9, you want to go spoiler free, check the description again. I will drop in a thing after we're done with this conversation. But yeah, the opening scene specifically, all I could think was, so in F9, it's very quick, and we missed it. Our listener Wes caught it. But Corey, Vin says to Cardi B about your sister Kara. So the woman riding with Han is Cardi B's character's sister in this world. So Cardi came from the DR in this world, and so I was like, "Where's Cardi at in this?" I'm just thinking she's probably too young, too dangerous for her, right? So that was the first thing. I was just like, "Oh shit, okay, here we go."
So there's a world that Han probably met Cardi B, a young Cardi B.
Shout out to her, she's pregnant again, man. I'm sure she listens, so shout out to you, Cardi. Am I tripping, or did I hear that this is like a character that might go forward into the franchise?
She's coming back. She has confirmed, or Vin has confirmed, that they're going to return. Cardi is going to return to the franchise.
Which is really cool to me,
I'm a big Cardi B guy. I know it's, not normal for...
No, we love Cardi.
I was on the Cardi B train back when she was on Instagram, and I used to tell everybody at my radio station, like, this girl's going to blow up, she's going to be big, and nobody believed me. And, then she becomes, like, one of the biggest artists that we've seen. So shout out to Cardi. Thank you for listening.
I was also very excited about the opening when Leon Santos, or Rico and Tego, whatever, are talking about going near banks and having to get busted out of prison. It's like, oh, shit. Like, that's what we learned in the flashbacks, that they got arrested for driving while brown, but also for blowing up a bank, right? So just, again, a nice little fan service callback in 9, for sure.
it just goes to show that the people making these films are paying attention and they're not just, throwing us stuff against the wall. Like that little stuff, rewards like that for longtime fans are part of the reason why I think this franchise is so beloved by its fans, because we feel very taken care of. We feel like we matter, and we feel like we're constantly kind of on the inside of a joke that maybe some other people in the crowd might not get, So I thought that was cool too. I wrote that part down.
I like that with new Fast and Furious movies, we get more instances of rewatchability. That's because I never thought about the bank quote before watching 4 until we get to 9 now, and it was like the first thing I thought of, right? Like when I see that,
because it's just like a thing. Like, oh yeah, like they get in trouble for that kind of thing, but then it's just like, oh no, it was the thing.
It was the thing. It's important. We see why, how it actually mattered. Also, that's kind of hard to do. Like, if you go back and you're rewriting stuff to fit into an earlier part of a story.
And then, of course, the line is actually, anytime we get near a bank, we have to break your ass out of prison. That's from Santos to Leo, right? So are we to understand that maybe Santos caught parole and then had to go out and break Leo out of prison? How did that happen? Because they were in prison together for the same thing, right?
In Los Bandoleros, there's another prison breakout. Remember, one of them is in prison, and then they have to break him out. But I don't know, like that's a separate thing altogether too.
That's right.
That must be
what
it is.
Because then he gets changed in the kitchen or whatever. He puts on the very fancy outfit, right?
So then I guess what I'm saying is that they're in prison in 9, right? So is that not the same prison stint that they have to break him out of prison for?
No.
Did they rob another bank and go back to prison, but this time only Leo?
Probably.
Well, yeah, because in 9, they're in prison in 1989, and Dom is like 18-year-old Dom or whatever.
Yeah.
But in Los Bandoleros, Dom is like 30-year-old Dom or whatever.
I'm bad at math, and I'm even worse at paying attention to time in these films, obviously. And that goes back to what I was saying. This is what I have you guys for, because
that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying this to myself as a compliment, because if it wasn't true, I would have been able to enjoy F9 more. But I'm too good at math to let that bullshit slide.
right.
Because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this doesn't. Like, as soon as I saw 80, I'm like, 89. Okay, cool. Like, expecting little Dom, and it's like 18-year-old Dom. I'm like, no, fuck, no, get the fuck, no.
Yeah.
So funny, man. I love the teenage Dom character. I thought he was cast very well and played very well, and I really enjoyed that part. Like I said, I had not watched many. I don't know if he was in any of the trailers, but I hadn't watched them, so I didn't know. That was all brand new to me. I had no idea that was coming.
They had some shots on Instagram of them like at the track or something, or there was like reports of that, but there was no like reports that there was a casted young Dom somewhere.
Yeah, I had no idea that we were going to have any flashbacks or any starting at the racetrack or anything, so it was very exciting for me in the theater. I mean, I was jacked up about that shit, man.
He's played by Vinny Bennett, who I'm looking up now.
Did you watch Young Rock by any chance, Corey?
No, I haven't yet, and that's odd because we're like huge rock fans over here, but I have not got to watch it yet.
You know the premise of the show, it's like The Rock at 3 different parts of his life. I'm wondering now, Joey, if that kind of had an influence on this, like knowing that The Rock was doing this and how much we love the Young Rock casting.
I think this was done before Young Rock was. Everything takes so long.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah, this film was supposed to come out some time ago. Also, that's his son, right, that plays the extremely young Dom in the scene where Jacob and Dom are in the garage with their dad. Much younger Dom, not teenage Dom, but young Dom. That's Vin's son.
I think that was a report. I think that you're right. I think that I remember reading
Vincent
that.
Sinclair Diesel. Yeah, because his name is Mark Sinclair. His name Vincent Sinclair Diesel is younger Dom.
God, what an amazing name to grow up with.
Yeah.
Just going to be a badass, man. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. He seemed like he was, I don't know if y'all guys saw his Jimmy Fallon appearance, but he seemed like he was so excited about having his kid. The whole thing, he keeps standing up and like going to the crowd and telling him that he loves him. It's kind of awkward. It's funny because, obviously Vin Diesel in real life and Vin Diesel in the movies, that kind of looks different because of his stature as a man. He is a little bit shorter than what they'd like you to believe the way they film him. So when you kind of see him in these wide shots, I mean, he is like this stocky little muscle-bound dude, and he was so excited. Like, you don't get a lot of Vin Diesel press runs that have made me as excited as this past one has.
Well, that's awesome.
With the announcement that I saw y'all tweet about, I think, with Abuela and Mama Diesel, or Mama Toretto, going to be in the coming up.
Yeah.
I'd give me all of that, man. Like, That's who I watch these shows for. I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody else, but, that's who I'm here for, is for the Dom Toretto character and Vin Diesel as an actor. So anytime that we're adding layers to that character, like showing me a scene that is so character building or so defining, as far as the scene with the mechanic, or with the driver who killed his father, in his eyes at the time, that's something that I've wanted to see since 2001. That's a scene that they've withheld from us. There's a lot of times people think that these movies are just people throwing things at the wall and throwing money at it, but they have a lot of restraint. Like, for instance, keeping The Rock out of this film so that you can have a John Cena, Rock, Hobbs matchup later down the road, one of the highest selling wrestling pay-per-views of all time. That takes restraint, especially after having a year like we just had, where you're like, Hollywood may die. So, they could have just been like, look, we need to go do some reshoots and they could have had that last scene, instead of being Han and Shaw, be Hobbs and Jacob, and maybe they have something. I'm telling you, that would have been what they call in the wrestling world a huge pop from the crowd. They do show restraint in some of these things. I don't know. I really enjoyed the film. The more that they give me of the Dom character and what makes him who he is, I love. Although I did think it was kind of weird that he only did 2 years in prison, and seems like he was working in one of the nicer garages I've ever seen, one of the nicer rooms I've ever seen in a prison. But yet, in one, he very clearly states that he will die before he goes back.
It seemed like he had some free range. I agree. Like, that seemed pretty comfortable to me.
It seemed pretty nice as far as, especially Los Angeles prisons go. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watched Locked Up, but when they're set in that area, they're pretty bad. So, shout out to him for I guess deciding that he didn't like the food enough to never go back. But he was working on cars, and that's kind of what he was doing out in the free world too. So I just don't understand why he was so upset. But one thing that I have a difference of opinion with y'all on y'all's Fast 9 spoiler-filled episode. I think that y'all kind of think that the Michael Rooker casting is a little bit more throwaway than I do. I think that character is going to come back in the next coming up films, because I think that, I come from the Marvel fandom as well, and comic book fandom in general. So Michael Rooker is very much royalty to us, all the way back in the 90s when he was on Mallrats. Like, that is not a price that you pay to cast someone who's going to be in a couple of scenes and not ever come back. I feel like he's going to be a recurring character because he's beloved for a lot of fandoms, and I mean, you could just get Joe off the street to do that, You could get Bokeem Woodbine to do it. But instead they got Michael Rooker, who I can only assume, after his showing in Guardians 2, has a pretty hefty price tag attached to his name. So I look forward to him hopefully being an addition going further in, certain flashbacks or in present time, whichever they want to do,
Yeah. Okay. I guess I didn't think about the financial implication, because I was like, you get a guy like him because it could just be like, so I'm looking right now on IMDb as we're talking, just like the people, and I think I probably cut it out because I corrected Joe, and I was kind of right but kind of wrong. So the woman who plays Elle, Anna Sawai, we talked about, was in a show, Girl Haji. I think she might be the lead of that show. But then she's also in Ninja Assassin. Like, she's been in things, but this is definitely her biggest thing to date. So it is kind of like Gal Gadot, but the crazy thing about Gal Gadot in Fast and Furious 4 is that was her first credit. Like, it wasn't like she had any kind of ramp up at all. So,
that's not her, like, on-screen appearance.
Yes, I'm not exactly right in fully correcting you, but it's also like, it's close, but it's not like the Gal Gadot thing is just like, it's just insane.
Well, she becomes such a superstar. She's such a household, most household name and face now. Like, it's not like, well, this is her first film, and she had an okay acting career after that. Like, she is Wonder Woman, and she's a hero to a whole generation of girls out there, the same way that Michael Keaton was a hero to me, although much more easy on the eyes than Michael Keaton. Speaking of which, man, Sean is looking sickly.
I think
he looks very thin.
Fit. I think he's just really trimmed up for that NCIS money. Yeah.
Oh, see, I don't watch NCIS, so I don't know. But I mean, he just looked like he aged way worse than the rest of the guys. But of course, I know that Joey would tell me that that's a whole math thing, because wasn't he actually much older than he was playing in Tokyo Drift?
We had somebody write in this episode, you'll hear it if you listen to the beginning of this episode, that they did the math, and basically if things line up in Tokyo Drift, Han would have been 42 and Sean would have been 18, at which point you're just like, none of this math adds up. We can't do this. What are we doing?
Sean the actor was older in Tokyo Drift than he's ever played on screen in Fast and the Furious.
I don't know why I thought it, but for some reason I really felt like they were going to rob us of the Sean and Han reconciliation. Like, it comes very at the end, you know, and I mean, that was like, I'm not ashamed to say that one might have brought a bit of a tear to the eye, you know? Like,
yeah.
That's a long reach back in time, even longer if you take it in the release of the films and not in the chronological order. But for somebody out there whose first time watching was Tokyo Drift, that moment means a lot, and I thought it was really well done. And, you know, but I mean, at the same time, don't you think that, like, somebody could have shot a text and been like, hey, by the way, man, Han's alive. Can you believe it? Like, we all know you were really good friends with him, but
right.
I think that bringing Sean back is so the guy that's with Sean, not Twink, but the other guy, is that a character that I'm not remembering?
He's Earl. Yeah, he's in Tokyo Drift. He's like, so in the deleted scenes for Tokyo Drift, there are two characters. That's Earl, played by Jason Tobin, and Reiko, played by Keiko Kitagawa, that were almost entirely cut out of the actual movie. But in the deleted scenes, they have like of the 25 minutes of deleted scenes, they're in like 10 of them. Like, they're like a huge back storyline just to flesh out that world.
But he says he's the guy that says, like, my mother who's blind in one eye can drift better than this.
That's those deep pools that I'm talking about. Like, you know, they know that there's people out there who have watched the bonus scenes just as much as they watched the films, and they pay you off for that, you know? So they take care of their fans. I'll tell them that much.
I do want to say that on the last note on F9, that I want to play a couple more games. I do think that there's something maybe to the Michael Rooker thing, because I'm looking at J.D. Pardo, who plays Jack Toretto. He's best known for his role in Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2, but he's like 40th build, so that just shows how fanatical those fans are. But I think he's more commonly known as the lead of Mayans MC, which is the Sons of Anarchy spinoff. To a certain crowd of people, he's a big thing. But I think the point that Corey was making was like, Michael Rooker to a much bigger crowd is a certain thing too. And so, you know, Dom's dad it's harder to bring him back because you can only bring him back in flashback. But Buddy, you can bring back wherever, right?
And Yondu's dead.
I think James Gunn has said that Yondu is dead. Like, they're not going to do any kind of reversal shit where, like,
makes sense.
They undercut.
Oh, no, yeah, they can't do that. It meant too much. You know, his death meant a lot, man. That's how they end the entire film. There is no other Marvel film that ends with a dead body floating through space. It's really powerful, man, and it kind of comes. It just happens very fast, right there in the climax of the film. The whole he wasn't your daddy and all that whole thing, the whole redemption of Yondu happens so fast, and he just stole a lot of hearts. He brought tears to my eyes, and I just don't think that you throw away that casting. I think that has to mean something, if only a bit part down the road. But also something that I kind of miss in these films is an old, you know, as they say, not non-pejoratively, ladies and gentlemen, but a grease monkey. You know, a lot of times, you know, they pull up to a warehouse and pick out all of their cool cars now. You know, I'm more inclined to watch Jesse build it on a, I don't know, MS-DOS computer, whatever it was he was doing on part one. You know, I like that stuff, man. I think that's cool. And for someone like me who's not really a car guy, it adds a lot, you know, and I'm sure it adds a lot for the car guys too, but like, it just adds a little bit, you know?
Speaking of car guys, do you want to find out which Fast and Furious character you are?
Sure.
As you know, as a listener to the podcast, we have 7 multiple choice questions, 6 answers per question, sort of in the J14 BuzzFeed style quiz. Answer honestly, explain it, don't, whatever you want to do. We're going to find out which character you are. First question for you, Corey. How fast are you? NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter? How fast are you?
NASCAR.
Wow, that's fast. How furious are you? The Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale in that one movie set that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
I gotta go Hulk.
Corey, we're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you manning the grill? Are you saying grace? Are you kicking back with a beer? Are you babysitting? Are you being the entertainment? Or are you sneaking a snack?
I'm on the grill, guys, and if you ever get down my way, I will show you why, man. I love being on the grill. I love having people over and then not really getting to visit or talk to anybody because I'm too busy cooking. Part of that is because I have social anxiety from working in a glass box for the last 10 years of my life and talking to a microphone. And, you know, the other part of it is that I just really enjoy the look on friends and family's faces whenever they're like, damn, you make good, insert protein routine here.
Perfect.
You've got time to kill. What are you doing? Are you grabbing a bite, working on your car, hanging with friends, drinking a beer, working out, or working on your computer?
Man, I was hoping I was going to get something close to a Dom, but this is definitely not that. But I'm working on the computer.
Okay.
Because of air conditioning, guys. It's Texas, man. It's hot.
Well, I will say that the first 3 questions should be no surprise that you are trending hard toward Dom, but in our point system, you gained 0 points. In no version of the universe did Joe or
Dom on
I
a
see
computer.
ever see Dom on a computer. Even like he begrudgingly does the books in the first movie, right? So it's just no.
We all fall a little shy of being the Dom we want to be.
It's okay. Just be the Dom that you are.
Yeah.
Describe your wedding. I'm never getting married, which I'm hoping is not the case because you've talked about how you've been married, but I'm never getting married. It's just me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
It's a backyard country affair. It was a backyard country affair at my grandparents' ranch in Christoval, Texas, with 4 golden retrievers and like 27 peacocks.
Love it.
Yeah,
Peacocks?
cute.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, we got a lot of peacocks, man. Peacocks are a weird bird where if you have like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and then somebody just miles and miles away gets one, they will also become your peacock. Like they will migrate to where the other birds are and you end up with a gaggle of cocks.
Interesting. If we name these episodes, the name of this episode would be A Gaggle of Cocks. But
There
we
you
do not
go.
name the episodes, so... Question number 6, Corey, you just won the lottery. What are you buying? Your own garage, a private plane, I'm gambling it all away, my childhood home, a fleet of cars, or a new life?
I'm going to buy my own garage, but I just want to qualify that. I don't mean like a garage for me to work on cars. I just mean that like I have a garage and it's too small for my truck or my wife's SUV, and I'd really like to extend that thing. So I would like to get a like 2-car, nice air-conditioned garage.
Sure.
But still falls firmly in the garage category.
Now, with 1 question left, I mean, you could go a couple different ways, but I think there's really 2 characters you're gonna be between. So we're gonna see how this goes. What is your drink of choice? Belgian ale, Corona, something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or just, Joe's getting a drink. Just grab me whatever you're having.
Oh, once again, I definitely not that last one because I'm a picky drinker. I can't do the Belgian ale. I wish that I could say water because that sounds so healthy, and like nowadays it's cool to be healthy. But once again, man, it's Texas and it's hot, so I'm gonna go with the Corona.
Okay. You are, without a doubt,
No surprise.
Dominic Toretto.
Guys, this is the happiest moment of my life.
Your stoic attitude is intimidating, your cool demeanor under pressure is inspiring, and your expertise under the hood is envied, but all these pale in comparison to your loyalty to your family. You may claim to live your life a quarter mile at a time, but there is nothing you wouldn't do for the people in your life, and at the end of the day, nothing makes you happier than throwing something on the grill, check,
Yep.
and sharing a few Coronas with your familia, and you drive like the wind blows.
Yeah, man. I'm down with it. I have been trying to get my wife to say the words, "You are Dom" to me forever. And it's just... So this was a great moment for me, man.
Please,
Small
if that ever
victories.
happens, email family@cageclub.me. I mean, maybe don't, because that might be a context that we don't want to read on air, but also, let
I
us
was
know.
going to give you her phone number so that you could call her and say, I just wanted to let you know that your husband is Dominic Toretto.
Man, okay, so here, I was going to say, we'll call her on air if you get her phone number into a Fast and Furious movie. Those are the only people we call on air.
Right.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, in 23 years. We did the
Yes.
math. So if it was in the next one, it would be like 23 years from now. We'll
Yep.
call her.
No
and
pressure.
she has the same
No
phone
pressure.
number.
All right, the next game we're playing is this Ain't No 10-Second Race, a.k.a. Boy Do We Have a Podcast for You. This is where we go on twitter.com,
gonna be
a.k.a.
this
The
week.
Bird app. Well, it's going to be easy or hard. There's going to be a lot of tweets, but it's about finding the right one.
That's true. That's true.
So we're going to go on twitter.com. First, before we review, before we do ones for this week, we're going to review last time's tweets. I found Baby Outlaw Kara on Twitter. Did I really rent out a whole theater for my birthday since that's the F9 release date? Absolutely. We said, Kara, this is going to be the happiest of birthdays. There's no one better to spend it with than family. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Got a like, but from Heather's boyfriend, Tyler. Does not count.
Sucks. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's not Tyler's fault that he's not Kara, guys.
No, I know. Or is it? Joe, you found Werewolf SJW at Akatron. Watching my favorite garbage trash movie, Need for Speed, and Imogen Poots really outcharmed everyone by 1,000%, huh? Just a little ragtag team of men of color and their white friend. Why didn't they cast Evan Aoki in this? We said we just fell in love with Need for Speed, and Devin Aoki would have been a great addition. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Not even a Tyler like. So 0 points.
Negative points.
Mark, the aforementioned Mark Hoffmeyer of Deep Blue Sea, the podcast, found Keenan Stewart at Real Keenan. Time to begin the Fast and Furious rewatch in honor of the Fast Saga coming out in a few weeks. I know Shea Serrano would be proud. We said not only would Shea Serrano be proud, but we're proud too. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Got a like from Keenan. So Mark on the board with the point. So
nice.
No pressure here, Corey. But once again, Mark establishing his credentials. It's hard to score points in this game, and he did it. So
I still got some time to die on the air, though, right? So
you do, yeah. We got in the next 10 or 15 minutes. If you want to die on air, that will automatically. How about this? So voting for the Fast and Furious, the Too Fast, Too Forever Hall of Fame is now open. If you die on our show, we'll induct you into our Hall of Fame.
No Hall of Fame is worth its merit if it doesn't have the obligatory pandering, this person passed and now they're in the Hall of Fame, whether or not they deserved it. Award. So I'm down with that. Speaking of which, I did vote on that, man. So everybody that's listening, please go and vote on the Hall of Fame.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was excited to see you vote, and I also told Joe that Andy Tudor, the game director for Fast and Furious Crossroads, also voted. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Corey had DM'd us his tweet. So, Corey, do you want to read who you found, what tweet you found that we're going to reply to?
I'm assuming that this is Dr. Nick Nolan because he is at Nick Nolan PhD.
Yep.
He said, I'm doing it for my friends, but mostly my familia. I am binge watching the Fast and Furious movies. I'm 3 days and 5 films in, burning brain cells faster than Dom Toretto can drink a Corona. I have 0 regrets. Hashtag F9. I'm assuming that maybe his family rented out a theater before it for F9 or something, and that's what he's trying to work towards.
I guess so. So
I'm so excited for him to be on this journey that he's on.
So I'm going to say that we're so excited for you to be on this journey that you're on. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Can you add in a part that's something like, while we don't have any proof that Dom has ever finished a Corona, we do know how fast he starts them. Speaking of which, going back to the Michael Rooker buddy, he asks for a Corona, he gives him a Corona, he cracks the Corona, he Dom grips the Corona, he takes, I don't even think, a full drink of the Corona, and then he sets the Corona down and leaves. So Buddy is definitely a recurring character because there is a Corona yet unfinished sitting there for Dom right now.
So maybe that is the plot point that Worry was telling us about. Okay.
Maybe he comes back in 10 and he's the bad guy, and that's why, because Dom wasted a beer.
All right, Joe, you got your tweet. Please hit us with yours.
I got Brandon Rhea. F9 was the perfect movie for returning to theaters. Completely batshit insane. It made no sense, and it was amazing. 10 of 10.
So how do you want to respond to Brandon?
We could not agree more, Brandon.
Let me just say for people listening, I think that this is how I ended up on this podcast.
Really?
Really?
I think that I am a recipient. I mean, that's the first contact I had was boy, do we have a podcast for you. I don't remember the contact. Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember the context. There was a moment where I got retweeted from Vin Diesel whenever he put out his when Vin Diesel put out his song in the pandemic, because he's the only person brave enough to do so. I posted about it, and I believe I got retweeted for that, and it might have been then because I was super stoked about that, or it could have been just a random Fast and Furious tweet that he liked, which is even cooler. Either way, man, it was a great moment in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what's going to be on my tombstone. Retweeted by Vin Diesel.
It's not even your name. It's just it's Vin's timeline, and it's just a screenshot etched into there. And it has Simo at Big Gelato, or Big Gelato at Simo, and then it just says Vin Diesel retweeted. It's going to be perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful.
And then they're going to make Zola 2 based on that interaction. It's going to be one. It's going to be one scene. I found Kyle Buchanan at Kyle Buchanan, who works and writes for the New York Times. He said, Vin Diesel and Helen Mirren have incredible chemistry in F9, and I believe their characters should have kissed. So I asked Mirren if she'd be willing, and he wrote an article called Honk If Helen Mirren and Vin Diesel Should Have Kissed in F9.
The sexual tension was palpable.
And then he has 2 follow-up tweets. First off, he says, for the record, Helen Mirren is very down to kiss Vin Diesel in Fast 10 with one stipulation. She says, with Vin, oh my God, of course I would. But only if he talks to me before and after, because it's the voice that I really get off on, quite honestly.
Wow. Helen
Same,
Mirren.
Helen, same.
And then he says, also, this is very cute. There's a quote that ends with, I'm sure the queen must have been out with the binoculars, don't you think, watching it from all the top bedroom window? Oh my God, what are they doing? Or saying, Mirren again? Mirren again, really? Will that woman ever leave me alone? So,
Dude, she's just a gem.
I'm going to
I love Helen
I
Mirren.
got to follow this person.
I'm saying we need all the Helen Mirren we can get. Helen Mirren and Vin Diesel / fiction we can get in our life. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Well, another successful round until it is proven to be unsuccessful in a few weeks when we play this game again.
True.
But for now, a smashing success.
Yeah.
The final thing to do, one more game, is, dude, what's my car?
Dude, what?
My car.
What?
Your car, dude.
So now, Joe, before you joined, I asked Corey if he wanted to help give clues or guess the car, and he said he would rather give clues.
That's fine.
So I forwarded him a car picture. All the car pictures we have now are from Jerry, so if you want to get a car picture in, email family@cageclub.me, but Jerry sent in
we
8.
mix them up too, so.
Yes, 8 from Jerry, including today's. This one simply titled Car Pick. So he sends 4 pictures, 3 of the outside, 1 of the inside.
Okay.
He says, boy, do I have a car pick for you. It is American,
Okay.
but it is a make I do not know.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Is this a make that you have heard of, Corey, or is this new to you as well?
No, it's new to me as well. I've never seen one. Beautiful machine, though.
Oh, so, okay, so there was a model with... Okay, so this make, there was another manufacturer that made a car with this model like a decade ago in Finland. But that has nothing to do with this. It's just a different car with a similar-ish name.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
The car is red.
Thanks. Okay.
Costs
yeah.
$135,000, 536 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds.
Okay. Okay, so it's expensive. So rare, expensive American car.
It is a 4-door, oddly enough. Although
That's
when
weird,
you look at
yeah.
it from the front, it really looks like it should be a 2-door.
Okay. Okay.
So probably not too much room in that back seat. But when you look at it from the side, I mean, I could fit my kid back there.
This is the essence of luxury, a harmonious balance of dynamic energy and serenity. It's an electric vehicle.
Okay.
It has a really, really cool digital display on both the like center console and the actual like dash. I mean, it's one of the
Yeah.
most beautiful ones I've ever seen. A prism of colors. Definitely not something that you're just pulling right off of your local lot. I mean, it is pretty. And the air conditioning vents look similar to the turbine engines that blow Castor Troy into the fence in Face Off.
Wonderful reference right here on the Cage Club Podcast Network. Thank you so very much for that. I did see an Instagram ad for like the Mighty Clip or whatever, which was like a thing to like mount your iPad or iPhone in your car. And it's like, turn any car. I'm like, please do not say into a Tesla. It's like, into a Tesla. I was like, no, you're not turning a car into a Tesla just because you have an iPad on your dashboard. God
No,
damn
you're
it.
not. Yeah.
As opposed to a traditional gear shift, this car looks like it actually has buttons for the parking, reverse, and I can't really see the other, but yeah, kind of close to the cup holders. And whereas most cars in the center of the steering wheel may have the emblem or logo of the manufacturer make, this one instead has what appears to be an orb that you can see your own death in.
Okay. Okay.
I gotta say, Joe, that we have given you almost no useful clues, but this has been my favorite description of a car ever.
I mean,
Perfect.
if you're into interiors, man, I got you covered. But
You know, honestly, this looks like a sportier Lightning McQueen, kind of. Like, it's got the body. It's like if Lightning McQueen lost a little bit of weight.
yeah, and had a couple kids he needed to put in the back seat.
The make is a concept of goodwill,
Okay.
There you go.
and the model is very similar to the last name of a famous American that is also that the Beastie Boys sang a song about.
Beastie Boys sing a song about.
I mean, not really. It's not about the guy, but the song is named after the guy.
Is the guy Leonard Nimoy?
No.
No, his name
Unfortunately.
is the name of the song.
The
Famous American.
If I was just walking by with my wife and she said, "Hey, what kind of car is that?" and I wanted to seem like, as a guy who's obsessed with Dom Toretto, I knew about cars, I would either say it's a Porsche or a BMW, just based off of the front end curves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, and the word car is in the make.
Something. I have no idea.
It is I don't know how to better guess this because I am...
What?
It's a nice looking car. It's a Karma Rivero.
I have no idea what this is. Send me pictures.
It's a beautiful,
Karma?
beautiful car.
I can't get over there's no reason this car should have 4 doors. It is wild. It's like, hey, you want to have like a cool ass car that you can also put your kids in the back? It's this. Like I can't.
Yeah, what the fuck is this
Me,
thing?
on the other hand, I'm looking at it like I totally get that need. I totally understand why they put the 4-door. Obviously, not necessarily Need for Speed guy, but maybe later on in my life, whenever I can afford to have like my truck and also a fast car, it would be nice to have some room for the kids to eat Wiener Schnitzel in the back. But it's a beautiful,
That's a
beautiful
very cool car. That's
Yeah.
gorgeous. It kind of looks like a new Supra a little bit. Yeah, you could definitely get some BMW stuffs in the front.
How about that display and that orb of impending
orb
doom
of
on the
death
front, man?
is good. The orb of death is good. Thank you.
That's a hell of a horn to honk right there.
Corey, I want to say thank you first of all. I also want you to sleep easily, sleep well tonight, knowing that you have at least tied Mark in the Twitter game because Dr. Nick Nolan already liked the tweet. So you already have a point there.
Yes.
So you can rest easy tonight knowing that you are at least Mark's equal. But thank you so much for also equal in like there's another goddamn long episode that I'm going to edit the next 2 days.
Sorry,
so,
man. And like,
no.
I edit audio, so I totally understand your plight. And I heard you make the joke about it on the and I still went long. My bad, man.
It's not hard. It's just time consuming as hell.
Time-consuming,
so,
yeah.
Good thing that we have nothing but time, et cetera, et cetera. But thank you so much for joining
thank
us.
you,
What do you
brother.
want to
That was
plug?
awesome.
Where do you want people to follow you? What do you want people to know about you? Can we hear your radio show outside the San Angelo area?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's 2021, so while I am housed on an FM station here in San Angelo in the West Texas area, search KMDX, Kilo Michael Delta Xerox, in the iOS or Google Play Store, and download our app, and you can listen. I'm on noon to 5 on weekdays. It's a really good radio station, especially if you like hip-hop and R&B. I program it all. I try to have fun on the show and stuff. We're also available on Amazon Alexa, TuneIn, Google Home, Roku, Fire Sticks, smart speakers, smart devices of all shapes and all sizes, guys. All you have to do is say, Alexa, open 1061 MDX. Hopefully somebody listening's Alexa just went off. And
That's awesome. Yes.
if you want to use the old granny computer because that's all you have at your house, well, you can get on that desktop and go to 1061mdx.com, Michael Delta Xerox, and click the listen live link from noon to 5, and you can hang out with me, man. And I appreciate everybody. You can follow at me at CMO1061 on Instagram and Twitter and on Snapchat, Facebook.com/1061MDX, and at MDX Radio on Instagram. It's almost like I give this spiel for a living every day.
Yeah, I was
gonna
impressed,
say-
and I was like, oh wait, no, I say the same thing at the end of every episode of these, and so I know exactly how it just you're halfway through, you're not even thinking about what you're saying, you're just saying the thing to say the thing, right? So I get it. But
saying
good
it
job.
in my sleep. Thank you guys so much, man. I had an absolute blast. This was so great.
Well, thank you for joining us. Next
you
week,
for joining
Joe,
us,
we are
seriously.
hitting second gear, and we are talking about F9 again
Oh.
with the Mikester. With resident historian Mike Manzi, we were talking about F9, so if you have not seen the movie yet, go see it now. Or by the time we talk about it for the third time with Kara, it'll probably be on VOD. But next week, still only in theaters. Go see it if you are able to. Go see it again. I know a lot of our listeners have seen it twice. I will have seen it twice by the time we talk about it with Mike Manzi. Very excited. Got lots of new ideas from this episode and the last episode and the emails and everything. F9 second gear coming up next week. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com. Join the family over there. Our store, TooFastTooForever.shop. And come back next week for F9 second gear. I'm Joey Lewandowski,
I'm Joe too.
and that was, and I'm just going to call him Simo, and we'll
Oh.
tell you all about it